Chapter 2680. Preparing for pill refinement. The atmosphere on the space-time roulette was bleak and silent. Soon, a streak of light broke everyone's silence. Everyone looked at the stream of light warily, but when they saw the true face of the figure in the stream of light, they were all pleasantly surprised. Husband. Big Brother Joie. Brother Joie. Everyone couldn't help but call out. Muchenshue flew out and threw herself at Juan. Juan felt his body become heavy and a strong sense of exhaustion overwhelmed him. His vision turned black and he fell into Muchenshue's embrace. Chen Shui, take me to the far west and find the Ryuka camp. After Juan said this, he fell into Muchenshue's embrace and lost consciousness. Muchenshue's expression changed. She hugged Juan's body and found that Juan had completely lost consciousness. Her eyes were filled with worry. At this moment, Xiaohei had already controlled the space-time roulette to catch Muchenshue and Juan. Big sister Chen Shui, is Big Brother Joie all right? Tong Chimei asked in a worried voice. Muchenshue shook her head and said, he's fine. He's just exhausted too much of his energy and mind, so he fainted. Fire Plume and Steel Plume walked forward. Fire Plume said with mixed emotions, Brother Joie is the most abnormal genius I've ever seen. He clearly hasn't proven his Tao yet, but he was able to kill Lord Primordial Chaos and escape from the hands of the Master of Destiny. Even the peerless geniuses of Tao Palace forces can't do what Brother Joie has done. Steel Plume nodded in agreement. Muchenshue's eyes lit up when she heard this. She was proud to have a husband like Juan. Whether it was Fire Plume, Steel Plume, or Muchenshue, none of them believed that Juan had the strength to kill Joda. They all thought that Juan had narrowly escaped from Joda's hands. Even so, they still felt that Juan was extremely amazing. After all, in their eyes, Juan was only a life and death cultivator. Just think about it. Which life and death cultivator in this world could escape from a peerless powerhouse like the Master of Destiny? We shouldn't stay here for too long. Let's leave this place and head to the far west, Muchenshue said. The others nodded slightly. They had also heard Zhuo Wen's words before he fainted. They knew that the Long clan members that Zhuo Wen cared about were all in the far west. Zhuan slowly opened his eyes and shook his head before sitting up. He looked around in a daze. The first thing he saw was Muchenshue, who had a happy look on her face, followed by Tong Chimei, Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and Xiaohei. Husband, you're finally awake. Muchenshue quickly helped Zhuan up. Zhuan rubbed his forehead and said to Muchenshue, Chen Shui, how long have I been unconscious? Muchenshue said, you've been unconscious for 3 days. Right now, we're rushing to the far west. We should be able to reach the far west in another day. That's right, husband, since the Ryuka clan is in the far west, why didn't you tell us before? Zhuan said with a bitter smile. When I was running for my life, I was inexplicably sent to the Six Desires heavenly domain from a blood-stained cliff. After I came back, many things happened, so I forgot to tell you about the Ryuka clan. The 8 heavens are about to change. I have to take the Ryuka clan away. Muchenshue nodded. She had heard about the reason for the 8 heavens change from the Fire Plume and Steel Plume from Jun. The 8 heavens were indeed not a place to stay for long. Wen chatted with everyone for a while before looking at Tong Chimei. Seeing Zhuowen's gaze, Tong Chimei unconsciously lowered her head and her eyes flickered. Chimei, I've implicated you in this matter. Don't worry, I'll take care of your cultivation and appearance. Zhuowen said in a gentle voice. Tong Chimei nodded and did not say anything. Her cultivation foundation had been completely destroyed by Huang Zhe, so it would be difficult for her to recover. Moreover, her appearance had been damaged by Huang Zhe's Dao Rhyme, which was a permanent injury. Not to mention losing her cultivation, even if her cultivation was at its peak, it would be difficult for her to recover her appearance. Chen Shui, I'm going into seclusion for a while. I plan to refine pills to restore Chimei. This is the Ryuka clan's residence. When the time comes, help me arrange the Ryuka clan's residence. When I come out of seclusion, I'll take the Ryuka clan away. After Zhuowen gave the jade slip with the location of the Ryuka clan's residence to Muchenshue, he entered the space-time roulette and went into seclusion. The space-time roulette was made up of space-time laws. Although it didn't look big, there was boundless space inside, enough to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Therefore, Yuan didn't have to worry about not having enough space when he went into seclusion. Yuan sat cross-legged and with a wave of his sleeve, he took out the Emperor Pill Furnace. The Emperor Pill Furnace's grade was very high. Yuan felt that even in the Xianmi heavenly domain, this Emperor Pill Furnace was a first-class pill furnace. Moreover, the success rate of refining pills was terrifyingly high. Moreover, Yuan had obtained the mysterious alchemy book from the Pill Pagoda, which contained a powerful alchemy art. With that alchemy art, Yuan's success rate in refining Tao-confirming divine pills was much higher than ordinary alchemists. This time, Yuan decided to refine two types of pills, the facial restoration pill and the nirvana pill. These two pills were both heavenly Tao divine pills, and Yuan had obtained many pill recipes from Huoyu in the alchemy book. These two pill recipes were from the alchemy book. The facial restoration pill was naturally a pill that could restore one's appearance. Moreover, it was specifically used to deal with disfigurement caused by Tao runes. It had a miraculous effect. The nirvana pill, on the other hand, was meant for cultivators whose foundations had been destroyed. It could repair their foundations and restore their cultivation. Of course, since the nirvana pill was only a heavenly Tao divine pill, it could only repair the foundations of cultivators below the heavenly Tao master. Yuan was only a tier 9 alchemist. This time, Yuan refined these two types of pills not only to restore Tong Chimei's health, but also to break through the shackles of tier 9 in one fell swoop and reach the level of a heaven Tao alchemist. Of course, if he wanted to improve his alchemy skills, he would naturally need a large number of divine medicines to practice. The main ingredients of the facial restoration pill and the nirvana pill were heaven Tao divine medicines. Yuan had a lot of divine medicines on him. He had obtained many Tao-confirming divine medicines in the origin ground and many precious divine medicines in Huang Zhe's small world. His only regret was that he couldn't get Zoda's spirit ring. Hou Yi's divine arrow was too overbearing. When it was shot, it directly pierced through Zoda, causing Zoda's body to be destroyed. Even his belongings were destroyed. Chapter 2681. Young Master Wu Changzhuowen had prepared nearly 100 sets of herbs for the face-restoring pill and nirvana pill. He first started refining the face-restoring pill. Because the face-restoring pill was relatively simple, he naturally planned to go from simple to complicated. This way, the success rate would be higher. Igniting the flame and opening the Pill Emperor furnace, the Pill Emperor tortoise hidden in the furnace hurriedly came out and fanned the flames for Yuan. Ever since Zhuowen had promised the Pill Emperor turtle that he would give him a divine pill for every successful cauldron of pills, the Pill Emperor turtle had been extremely attentive after Zhuowen had refined pills. The Pill Emperor tortoise was the Pill Emperor furnace's artifact spirit. Its understanding of the Pill Emperor furnace was far above Zhuowen's. With the Pill Emperor tortoise's cooperation, Yuan was able to refine pills smoothly without much effort. As the Pill Emperor tortoise continued to devour the pills, its strength was clearly growing stronger. After tasting such benefits, the Pill Emperor tortoise was even more enthusiastic than Zhuowen every time Zhuowen refined pills. This made Zhuowen laugh in his heart. This time, Zhuowen planned to refine heavenly Tao-grade divine pills. This fellow was even more enthusiastic and a little nervous. In the past, the Pill Emperor tortoise had only obtained Tier 8 and Tier 9 divine pills from Zhuowen. It had never tasted a heavenly Tao-grade divine pill. Whether Zhuowen succeeded or failed this time was closely related to it. It would be strange if this fellow wasn't nervous. Zhuowen first purified a set of herbs for the face-restoring pill. After feeling that it was about right, he placed the purified herbs into the Pill Emperor furnace. The Pill Emperor tortoise immediately controlled the flame while Zhuowen formed a pill seal at the side. The pill refining process proceeded in an orderly manner. Gradually, a rich medicinal fragrance wafted out from the pill furnace. This medicinal fragrance contained an inexplicable Tao rhythm. About 2 hours later, a dull explosion came from the Pill Emperor furnace. Then, a burnt smell came from the medicinal fragrance. Zhuowen revealed a helpless look. He knew that his first attempt to refine the face-restoring pill had failed. However, Yuan wasn't discouraged. Instead, he prepared a new set of herbs and continued to purify them. Then he placed them into the Pill Emperor furnace. Minutes and seconds passed. After Zhuan refined the 9th set of herbs, he stopped and began to ponder silently. His mind kept replaying the steps and every technique he used to concoct the medicine. He wanted to find the real reason for his failure. The Pill Emperor tortoise with a heartache. In the end, it didn't stop muttering about Zhuowen's prodigal actions. After pondering for an entire day and night, Zhuowen finally opened his eyes once more. Then he once again picked up the 10th set of medicinal ingredients and began the purification work. This time, pill refining pill, pill emperor furnace, to the immortal refining pill. Was pill emperor pill. To Master Zhuowen of heavens. Of heavens Tao of heavens God furnace. Seeing this, the Pill Emperor tortoise revealed a joyful expression. It felt that the pill refining this time was different from the previous 9 times. Suddenly, the Pill Emperor furnace buzzed. The medicinal fragrance became extremely dense and turned into surging clouds. Then, the top of the Pill Emperor furnace was lifted, and 12 pills flew out. Zhuan took out a jade bottle and placed all 12 pills inside. Zhuan was pleasantly surprised. This time, all 12 face-restoring pills were successful. He knew that this was all thanks to the mysterious alchemy book's alchemy technique. This alchemy technique was originally to increase the success rate. Since he had found the method to refine heavenly Tao divine pills, the success rate naturally wouldn't be low. After handing one of the face-restoring pills to the Pill Emperor tortoise, Yun sat cross-legged on the ground. He silently felt the process of refining the pill. His eyes revealed a trace of enlightenment. He could clearly feel that his spirit seemed to have improved a lot at this moment. He knew that the moment he successfully refined the pill, he was already a genuine heavenly Tao alchemist. Next, I can refine the Nirvana pill. Zhuowen's eyes revealed excitement. He knew that once he successfully refined heavenly Tao divine pills, the Nirvana pill wouldn't be too difficult for him. Sure enough, with the help of the alchemy technique and the Pill Emperor tortoise, Zhuan only used one try to refine the Nirvana pill. Moreover, all 12 pills were successful. Zhuan knew that the moment he became a heavenly Tao alchemist, there was basically no chance of failure in refining heavenly Tao divine pills in his hands. If the alchemists of the Xianmi heavenly domain knew about Zhuowen's situation, they would definitely be dumbfounded. It was really too unbelievable. One had to know that even if a heavenly Tao alchemist refined heavenly Tao divine pills, maintaining a success rate of about 50% was already very heaven-defying. Moreover, even if a second-step alchemist refined heavenly Tao divine pills, it was very difficult to have a 100% success rate. At most, it was 80 to 90%. However, Zhuan had just become a heavenly Tao alchemist, and he could refine heavenly Tao divine pills with a 100% success rate. It could be said that Zhuan was absolutely heaven-defying. After putting away the Nirvana pills, Zhuan prepared to come out of seclusion. Soon, he noticed that his communication jade talisman was ringing. He opened the jade talisman and found that it was a message from Mu Chenxue. After reading the message, Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly opened the restrictions around him and stepped out, arriving on the space-time roulette's deck. At this moment, the deck was ablaze with flames. An incomparably huge phoenix phantom spread its wings and flew high, enveloping the space-time roulette's surroundings. On the deck, Fire Plume and Steel Plume were both injured. They sat on the side, paralyzed. Tong Chimei was taking care of the two of them, while Xiao He was controlling the space-time roulette. Only now did Zhuan realize that outside the Phoenix Phantom, there were actually rays of light descending. It looked like countless meteors were falling, dazzling and dangerous. At the top of these rays of light was an extremely luxurious flying ship. The exterior of this flying ship was built to look like an incomparably huge palace. It was grand and majestic, and it was extremely luxurious. At this moment, there were 3 figures standing at the top of the palace. The person in the lead was extremely young. He looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. He wore luxurious feather clothes, held a feather fan in his hand, and wore a feather crown on his head. His skin was whiter than snow. Standing on either side of the youth were a man and a woman. The man was dressed in black, and his skin was extremely dark. If it were night, it would be difficult to distinguish him from the darkness. The woman was the opposite of the man. She was dressed in white, and her face was frighteningly pale. She looked like a female ghost instead of a normal person. The rays of light were the attacks launched by the feather-clothed youth. The feather-clothed youth's aura was not very strong. He was probably at the level of Heavenly Lawmaster. However, the feather fan in his hand was not ordinary. With a casual wave of his hand, he unleashed an attack that even Dao Yuan Master would have to deal with. Obviously, he was not an ordinary person. Child Wu Chang, don't you think you have crossed the line? The Purple Red House has no enmity with you. Why are you attacking us? After taking the healing medicine, Fire Plume looked up at the feather-clothed youth. Her beautiful eyes were filled with resentment. Chapter 2682. Merciless Crush. The youth named Young Lord Wu Chang shot a disdainful glance at Fire Plume and said, Fire Plume, what qualifications do you have to talk to me? Although your Purple Red House is a Dao Gate level force, it's only trash ranked at the bottom of the Dao Gate level forces. It's not impossible for our Impermanence Palace to destroy your Purple Red House. Moreover, it's rare to encounter a woman with the Phoenix bloodline in the 8 heavens, so I, Young Lord Wu Chang, want this woman. Yet you obstruct me in every way possible. Just because of this, I won't be wrong to kill you. Speaking up to here, Young Lord Wu Chang waved his feather fan again and the power of the falling light increased sharply. The Phoenix Phantom that was already on the verge of collapse let out a mournful cry and collapsed with a loud bang. Mu Chenxue grunted, but she was not afraid in the face of danger. After taking a few steps back, she continued to use the power of fire to neutralize the aftershock and landed calmly on the deck. Young Lord Wu Chang obviously did not intend to be heavy-handed. After Mu Chenxue's Phoenix Phantom was destroyed, he withdrew his hand and said indifferently, I say, little beauty, I've taken a fancy to your Phoenix bloodline. With your cultivation, you're still far from being able to fight me. Come with me obediently and you'll be spared from physical pain. Mu Chenxue ignored young Lord Wu Chang's invitation and came to Zhuowen's side in pleasant surprise, whispering softly, Husband, you've come out of seclusion? Zhuowen nodded and immediately looked coldly at young Lord Wu Chang in front of him and asked, Who is this clown? Brother Zhuo, this young Lord Wu Chang is the young palace master of Impermanence Palace. Impermanence Palace is also a Dao Gate level force in the Eastern Dao territory of the Xianmi Heavens domain. It's just that its ranking is slightly higher. Fire Plume explained. Young Lord Wu Chang saw that Mu Chenxue was acting so intimately with a man who had just appeared and was only in the twin extremities of life and death. Moreover, this man had openly challenged him and called him a clown. This infuriated young Master Wu Chang, causing him to hold back his anger. Because of his cultivation method, he needed a fire attribute physique, so he immediately sensed that the Phoenix bloodline in Mu Chenxue's body was different, so he made a move. In the end, he was pleasantly surprised to find that Mu Chenxue actually had the Phoenix bloodline. The woman he had taken a fancy to was now calling another man her husband, and she was even acting affectionately. Moreover, this man was an ant in the extreme realm of life and death. How could young Master Wu Chang tolerate this? He couldn't wait to kill this despicable man. Who do you think you are? You are merely at the two extremes of life and death, yet you still dare to put on an act in front of me. If you are still a man, then come out and spar with me. I want to see if you have the strength to keep the woman I fancy, young Master Wu Chang said coldly. Young Master Wu Chang was sure that the white-robed young man in front of him would definitely not dare to accept the challenge. Once the white-robed young man did not dare to accept the challenge, he would have even more reason to attack. At that time, he would make the white-robed young man suffer a fate worse than death. You want to spar with me? Zhuowen had a strange look in his eyes. Not only Zhuowen, but Mu Chenxue, Fire Plume, and Steel Plume also had strange looks on their faces. Although Zhuowen's aura was only at the extreme realm of life and death, they knew that Zhuowen's true strength was extremely terrifying. Even Lord Hunyuan had died in the hands of Zhuowen, which showed just how powerful Zhuowen was. Young Master Wu Chang's cultivation was only at the Heavenly Dao Master realm. Although he relied on the feather fan in his hand to display extraordinary combat strength, he only had the strength of a Tao origin master at most. Would he not be looking for trouble if he encountered Zhuowen? Young Master Wu Chang raised his chin slightly and said proudly, "What? You don't dare to?" "Why wouldn't I dare?" Zhuowen smiled slightly and swept out of the space-time roulette, standing above young Master Wu Chang and looking down at him. Young Master Wu Chang frowned slightly. He was very unhappy that Zhuowen was looking down on him with such an attitude. He sneered, took a step forward, and landed in front of Zhuowen, saying, "You've got guts, but unfortunately, you're going to die soon." The man and woman standing next to young Master Wu Chang frowned slightly, but they did not move. Young Master Wu Chang had just sent a voice transmission telling them not to follow him and that he would be the one to deal with this battle. Although the two of them felt a little uneasy, they didn't care too much when they thought that young Master Wu Chang was only facing an ant at the extreme realm of life and death. With the feather fan in hand, young Master Wu Chang took a step forward and waved the feather fan in his hand. Instantly, countless rays of light shot out from all directions like meteors and enveloped Zhuowen. "You're just an ant, overestimating yourself. You're making me laugh my head off." Young Master Wu Chang gently waved the feather fan and sneered gracefully when he saw the countless rays of light drowning Zhuowen. However, after young Master Wu Chang said this, he immediately felt that something was wrong. Because after the rays of light disappeared, he found that the place where Zhuowen was originally standing was empty, as if he had disappeared into thin air. "He should have been completely annihilated by my attack." Young Master Wu Chang muttered. He did not doubt this. After all, Zhuowen was only at the extreme realm of life and death. In his eyes, Zhuowen was just an ant. "Young Master, be careful." When young Master Wu Chang was about to turn around and return to the spaceship, the man and woman on the spaceship suddenly shouted. Before young Master Wu Chang could even react, he felt a terrifying gust of wind sweeping toward him, heading straight for his face. Bang! Young Master Wu Chang only felt a heavy blow to his cheek, and then his whole body was involuntarily sent flying. His cheeks were red and he spat out blood. When young Master Wu Chang wanted to see who had attacked him, he found that the person who attacked him had already closed in on him the moment he threw a punch. Only then did he see that the person who had closed in on him was actually the extreme realm of life and death in white that he disdained. At this moment, the white-clothed young man's face was indifferent as his fists rained down on young Master Wu Chang's body. Every punch that landed on young Master Wu Chang's body seemed to be able to break him apart. Young Master Wu Chang roared and tried to get up to resist, only to find that the young man in white in front of him was too fierce. He couldn't get up at all and could only passively endure the barrage of punches coming his way. Young Master Wu Chang was shocked. Is this really the power of the extreme realm of life and death? How could it be so terrifying? Bang! Zhuowen clenched his fist and punched young Master Wu Chang's chest. The wind from the punch whistled, like countless thunderbolts spreading out and exploding. Poochie! Young Master Wu Chang spat out a mouthful of blood and fell straight down like a withered leaf. Zhuowen jumped down and unceremoniously stepped on young Master Wu Chang's head, making him unable to move at all. Zhuowen's eyes were sharp, and his hands were quick. He took the feather fan and the spirit ring from young Master Wu Chang's hand and unceremoniously took them. Ah! Young Master Wu Chang's lungs were about to explode. He kept struggling, but it was futile. Zhuowen's strength was too terrifying. It was like 1,000 pounds pressing down on his head, firmly suppressing him. Young Master. Chapter 2683. Tyrannical Art of Slaying. Zhuowen's right hand moved like lightning. The power of the two-star pinnacle Pangu's sacred body burst out and quickly blasted Child Wu Chang's limbs, shattering them. Zhuowen then grabbed Child Wu Chang by the neck and lifted him into the air. The man and woman in black and white looked at Zhuowen with ghastly expressions. They were also shocked. The young man in front of them was only at the extreme realm of life and death. How could he be so powerful? Do you know who Child Wu Chang is? How dare you act so recklessly? The man in black looked at him coldly and did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. You're just the young palace master of Wuchang Palace. Is Wuchang Palace that great? Is it a Dao Palace force? Zhuowen said calmly while holding Child Wu Chang. The man in black was stunned. He suppressed his anger and said, although Wuchang Palace is not a Dao Palace force, it is still one of the top Dao sects. You're courting death. If you don't want to die, you'd better let go of Child Wuchang. Child Wuchang calmed down and said coldly, both black and white impermanents are experts of Master Hunyuan. If you kill me on impulse, you'll face the wrath of black and white impermanents. You'll definitely die. How about this? You let me go and I'll make a blood oath not to touch you. I'll let you go safely. This is the best way to get the best of both worlds. Zhuowen sneered as he looked at the seemingly calm young Master Wuchang. He knew that young Master Wuchang's words were a little threatening. Did he think that Zhuowen would be afraid of the black and white impermanents in front of him? The black and white impermanents were indeed Master Hunyuan, but their auras were not as strong as Old White and Old Wu. Old White and Old Wu were both at the peak of Master Hunyuan, while the black and white impermanents were only at the early stage of Master Hunyuan. Zhuan could even kill Old White and Old Wu, who were both at the peak of Master Hunyuan, let alone the black and white impermanents. Child Wuchang was confident that the young man in white would agree to his proposal. In his opinion, the young man in white was indeed powerful, but how could he be stronger than Master Hunyuan? Let you go? I really can't do it. Since you've set your sights on my wife, this matter is naturally not that simple. Zhuowen said casually. Young Master Wuchang was dumbfounded and said in disbelief, are you not afraid of Hunyuan Master? You must be crazy. Unfortunately, as soon as Child Wuchang finished speaking, Zhuowen violently flung him away, smashing him directly at the feet of Mu Chenxue on the space-time roulette deck. The pitiful Prince Wuchang's limbs had been crippled by Zhuowen, and his energy had been sealed. He was now like a mortal, unable to resist at all. He fell to the ground, grimacing in pain. Black and white impermanents, kill him. Young impermanents had also given up, and Zhuowen clearly did not intend to let him go. So, the moment young impermanence was thrown out, he immediately shouted at the black and white impermanents. Black and white impermanence's eyes were filled with murderous intent. This person really didn't know what was good for him. It was obvious that young Master Impermanence was about to bow his head, but this person still refused to give up. If they didn't kill this person, they would never be able to calm down. Bush. The black and white impermanents turned into two streams of light, one black and one white. They held black and white swords and aimed at Zhuowen's vital points, wanting to completely kill Zhuowen. It had to be said that the black and white impermanence's cooperation was extremely tacit. The two of them had obviously blocked all of Zhuowen's escape routes. No matter where Zhuowen wanted to retreat, he would have to face their attacks. Zhuowen stood in place with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. He had no intention of retreating at all. Two early-stage Master Hunyuan cultivators were not qualified to force him to retreat. Seeing that Zhuowen did not evade, the black and white impermanence revealed a ferocious smile. The moment they approached Zhuowen, the two of them unceremoniously slashed out with their divine swords. The black and white swords broke through the starry sky and intersected like a pair of scissors. Zhuowen's whole body was enveloped by the powerful scissor-like swords, completely drowning in the black and white. You've overestimated yourself. You deserve to die now. Looking at the figure drowned in the black and white swords, the black and white impermanence could not help but sneer. Slaughtering Dao Palm. An indifferent voice was heard. Immediately, the two black and white swords suddenly collapsed. A huge palm appeared out of thin air and blasted toward the black and white impermanence. Two muffled groans were heard. Immediately, the black and white impermanents were seen retreating. They looked in horror at the young man in white who was unscathed and had used the slaughtering Dao Palm. The slaughtering Dao Palm was the second move of the slaughtering Dao art. It was so powerful that it could kill a Dao Yuan master. Moreover, Yun used the slaughtering Dao Palm with the two-star Pangu's sacred body, so its power was even more terrifying and powerful. This guy has learned the slaughtering Dao art? The black and white impermanents, who had been repelled, looked at Zhuowen, who had used the slaughtering Dao Palm, with astonishment in their eyes. The slaughtering Dao art was very famous in the Xianmi heavenly domain. It was not only because the slaughtering Dao art was very powerful, but also because the slaughtering Dao art had great limitations. It could only be cultivated to the Daoyuan master level. Most Dao-proving experts in the Xianmi heavenly domain rarely cultivated Dao arts like the slaughtering Dao art. However, the black and white impermanents were puzzled. Zhuan was only in the two extremities of life and death. How could his slaughtering Dao palm be so powerful? Zhuan shook his sleeves and blasted out 2 more palms. The terrifying power of the heavenly way was like an angry dragon. It condensed into 2 huge palms and roared toward the black and white impermanence. The black and white impermanence's eyes turned gloomy when they saw the 2 palms. They found that the 2 palms that Zhuan had blasted out were extremely powerful. Even their arms were trembling and it was difficult for them to resist. The 2 of them couldn't help but rejoice that Zhuan hadn't learned the 3rd move of the slaughtering Dao art. The slaughtering Dao palm was already so terrifying. They really couldn't imagine how powerful it would be if he used the slaughtering Dao palm. Just as the 2 of them were rejoicing, Zhuan in front of them formed a seal again. Then, the surrounding heavenly way laws began to become chaotic and turned into a storm. Then, 2 huge arms suddenly stretched out from behind Zhuan. The 2 arms were formed purely by the power of the heavenly way. They were invisible but could be sensed. Puchi. When the 2 slaughtering Dao palms broke through the air and landed in front of the black and white impermanence, the black and white impermanence's hearts skipped a beat. They burned their blood essence and sped up to the extreme. They actually planned to escape. Zhuan's eyes turned cold. He formed a seal with both hands and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. He used the Pangabanner's forbidden profound, Hong Meng Wuji. Suddenly, the space around the black and white impermanence completely froze. Even the heavenly way laws were sealed. The 2 of them stopped in their tracks. Therefore, this pause was only for a moment, but it was enough to be fatal. Chapter 2684. Dragon Domain. Zhuan's face was pale and he almost couldn't stand straight. He immediately took a healing pill and his figure was no longer in a sorry state. Just now, he had only used the profound meaning of forbidden to stop the black and white impermanence for a breath of time, but it had consumed 50% of his energy. It had to be said that the profound meaning had consumed too much of his energy. He couldn't imagine if he could withstand the terrifying consumption of the profound meaning if he wanted to stop the black and white impermanence for a longer period of time. How is this possible? Young Master Wuchang stared blankly at the black and white impermanence being turned into nothingness by the Dao's slaughtering hand, his eyes filled with disbelief. Zhuan slowly landed on the space-time roulette's deck and indifferently looked at young Master Wuchang. Then he said to Mu Qinshui, "Qinshui, how do you plan to deal with this person?" Young Master Wuchang trembled. He didn't dare look at Zhuan's cold eyes and instead looked at Mu Qinshui with anticipation, hoping to win Mu Qinshui's sympathy. Unfortunately, Mu Qinshui's eyes were filled with coldness. She was very clear that young Master Wuchang in front of her didn't have good intentions when he wanted to take her away. If Zhuan wasn't strong enough, not only would Zhuan be killed, her end wouldn't be any better. Sometimes, being kind to the enemy was being cruel to yourself. Mu Qinshui waved her hand and a flame poured out, wrapping around young Master Wuchang. With a miserable scream, young Master Wuchang was burned to ashes. Brother Zhua, if you go to the Xianmi heavenly domain, you have to be careful of the Huangji family and Wuchang Palace. You killed people from these 2 forces, so they definitely won't let this matter rest. Fire Plume said in a worried voice. Zhuan nodded and said, "Many thanks for Miss Fire Plume's reminder. I won't implicate the 2 of you in this matter." Fire Plume angrily stomped her foot and said, "That's not what I meant. Don't misunderstand, all right? I know, but I was the one who caused this. It has nothing to do with you." After Zhuan finished speaking, he continued, "Have you found the Long family's encampment?" Mu Qinshui replied, "Found it. It's about an hour's journey from here, but we were stopped halfway by that young Master Wuchang." "All right, let's go to the Ryuka camp first." "All right, Shima, these 2 bottles of medicinal pills are for you." As Zhuan spoke, he took out the jade bottles containing the rebirth pills and rejuvenation pills and passed them over to Tong Chimei, who stood at the side. "Big Brother Zhua, what's this?" Tong Chimei asked curiously. "These 2 jade bottles contain the facial restoration pill and the nirvana pill. The facial restoration pill can help you recover your looks, while the nirvana pill can help you recover your foundation and cultivation, Zhuowen said. Tong Chimei was pleasantly surprised. She had never doubted Zhuowen's words. You refine these facial restoration pills and nirvana pills? Fire Plume asked suspiciously. If Fire Plume wasn't wrong, the facial restoration pills and nirvana pills were both heavenly Tao divine pills. Zhuowen wasn't a heavenly Tao alchemist in the past, so he shouldn't have been able to refine these two divine pills. Could it be that this guy had broken through? I refined them. I went into seclusion to refine these two divine pills, and I successfully refined them, so I advanced to the heavenly Tao alchemist level. Zhuowen saw through Fire Plume's thoughts, and he spoke without hiding anything. Fire Plume was a little numb. She felt that this white-clothed young man was a little too freakish. His strength was already terrifying enough, but he had actually broken through to the heavenly Tao alchemy level in both the Tao of formations and the Tao of pills. Hyun, are you really at the extreme realm of life and death? Fire Plume asked subconsciously. Zhuowen was stunned, and then he smiled. Yes. Then do you know the grade of your ancestral Tao root? Fire Plume was unwilling to give up. She felt that since Zhuowen's cultivation was already so heaven-defying at the extreme realm of life and death, then the ancestral Tao root within his body was definitely extraordinary, and it was very likely to be a top-rate ancestral Tao root. I haven't tested my ancestral Tao root. Zhuowen shook his head. Let's talk about the ancestral Tao root in the future. As for junior sister Chimei, I intend to hand her over to you. She possesses an Earth-grade ancestral Tao root, and I presume your Violet Red House would be more than happy to have such a genius, right? Zhuowen continued. After experiencing this string of events, Zhuowen didn't intend to allow the people by his side to continue staying in Xianmi region. Even though Tong Chimei's ancestral Tao root was sufficient for her to enter a Tao Palace level power, she might not be valued highly, and it was even to the extent that she might be discriminated against in that power because of her background. On the other hand, Zhuowen had interacted with Fire Plume and Steel Plume for a period of time, and he knew that they didn't have bad natures. If Tong Chimei joined the Violet Red House, then she would be able to receive their care, and she would definitely be able to develop even better. Fire Plume revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. She'd been coveting Tong Chimei's ancestral Tao root for a long time, and being able to recruit a genius with an Earth-grade ancestral Tao root was absolutely an extremely good thing for the Violet Red House. Junior sister Chimei, are you willing to join our Violet Red House? Don't worry, I guarantee that our Violet Red House will do our best to foster you. Fire Plume hurriedly looked at Tong Chimei and asked. Tong Chimei glanced at Zhuowen, and when she saw him nod at her, she nodded in agreement as well. Fire Plume was pleasantly surprised, and she hurriedly held Tong Chimei's hands. No one knew what they were talking about, but the two of them quickly became extremely intimate. Dragon City was the core of the Dragon Domain. The master of the Dragon Domain, the Ryuka, lived in Dragon City. A huge stone statue stood at the entrance of Dragon City. The statue depicted a young man in white robes. Although the young man wasn't an extremely handsome man, he was extremely pleasing to the eye. All the cultivators who entered Dragon City knew that the statue's owner was called Long One, and it was said that he was the true leader of the Ryuka. The reason Ryuka had been able to develop to its current scale was basically because of Long One. Of course, the cultivators who knew the inside story also knew that Long One had another name, Hyun. When Zhuowen arrived at Dragon City and saw the bustling city, he couldn't help but nod inwardly. During his absence, his parents, grandfather, and big brother Lu Hantian had developed the Ryuka quite well. Moreover, Zhuowen's divine sense also detected several figures who were in seclusion in the depths of Dragon City. Among them, Lu Hantian caught Zhuowen's attention the most. Because Lu Hantian's cultivation had reached the life enlightenment realm, it could be said that he was the strongest person in the Ryuka. Even his father, Long Xiaotian, was not as strong as Lu Hantian. Jun entered the depths of Dragon City and spread out his divine sense, entering the minds of all the Ryuka people. That kid, is finally back. In the depths of the cliff, Lu Hantian suddenly opened his eyes. With a carefree smile on his face, he smashed the surrounding cliff and leaped out. When is back. In the luxurious attic in the center of Dragon City, Long Xiaotian and Long Xiangding were playing chess, while Feng Xiao stood on the side and poured tea. At the same time, she was watching the father and son play chess with a smile on her face. But soon, the three figures froze, and Feng Xiao was the first to rush out. Long Xiaotian and Long Xiangding looked at each other and saw a touch of joy in each other's eyes. They quickly got up and left the room. Chapter 2685. Preparations in the Dragon City Plaza. Zhuowen led Mu Qinshui and the others as they strolled leisurely. Soon, the Long family's people lined up in front of them. When the members of the Long family arrived, many of the cultivators around the square recognized them. Reverence appeared on their faces as they made way for them. Looking at the members of the Long family who had arrived, they discussed animatedly. Then, the cultivators were surprised to find that the core members of the Ryuka, who dominated the entire Dragon City, were kneeling on one knee on the ground. They were kneeling towards the young man who was strolling leisurely in the plaza. Long Xiaotian, Lu Hantian, and the rest of the Ryuka elites rushed forward and surrounded the young man in the center. They were extremely excited. Some of the sharp-eyed cultivators saw the young man's face and felt that it was very familiar. Then, they thought of the stone statue outside the Dragon City and felt that the young man looked exactly the same as the stone statue. This shouldn't be the dragon text, right? Such a powerhouse has returned. The Ryuka is going to rise to another level. I thought that we could still surpass the Ryuka and replace them. Now, it seems that it's not possible. Amidst the discussions, Jun was led into the Ryuka residence by Long Xiaotian and Lu Hantian. In the luxurious hall, Yun sat on the main seat. Lu Hantian, Long Xiaotian, and Long Xiangding sat on either side of him. Yun, are you planning to bring the Ryuka to the Xianmi celestial domain? Lu Hantian suddenly asked. Yes, the 8 heavens are already a place of trouble. If we continue to stay, we will be implicated. No one can avoid it. Zhuan said. Is it because of the prehistoric celestial domain? Long Xiaotian asked. Zhuan shook his head and said, it's not all because of the great desolate heaven realm. I'm afraid that the 8 great heavens will turn into the demon realm soon. Yuan explained in detail about the land of origin on Earth. Although there were many resources in the land of origin, Yuan also knew that it was now under the control of Donghuang Tai. Entering the land of origin would be courting death. Donghuang Tai had already turned Huaxia heaven region into a devil region. His next move was to turn the other 7 heaven regions into devil regions, making the other 8 heaven regions his territory. After hearing Zhuowen's explanation, the Ryuka's faces changed. Zhuowen, are you planning to take the entire Dragon City with you? Long Xiangding asked. Zhuowen shook his head and said, no need, Dragon City is too big, and there are crooks mixed in with the honest folk. I will only take the real Ryuka, the rest will not be taken away. After the betrayal of the Ryuka, Yuan was a little disgusted with outsiders who joined the Ryuka. If they were not reliable people, Yuan would not spend so much effort to take them away. Brother Han, father, mother, and grandfather, how long will it take for you to make the arrangements? Yuan asked. Long Xiaoan pondered for a while and said, it will be very fast, just a day. However, there are many resources in the Ryuka that need to be transported. I'm afraid it will take a lot of time. It will take about 5 days to arrange everything. All right, in these 5 days, you all go and make the arrangements. I plan to go into seclusion again. If I don't come out by then, it's best to use the communication talisman to inform me. After making the arrangements, Zhuan chose an extremely spacious mansion, set up layers of restrictions, and went into seclusion again. Mu Qinshui and the others did not disturb Zhuan. They could see that Zhuan attached great importance to this seclusion. Mu Qinshui and the others guessed right. Zhuan indeed attached great importance to this seclusion, because he planned to take advantage of these 5 days to madly absorb the Heavenly Way rule energy in the Heavenly Way crystal vein in order to break through to the 3-star Pangu's sacred body. Zhuan directly entered the small world and sat cross-legged in the center of the Heavenly Way crystal vein. Like a whale sucking in water, he began to absorb the Heavenly Way energy in the vein. If Zhuowen hadn't been in the minor world, The commotion caused by him absorbing the heavenly Tao origin crystals would have definitely alarmed the entire Dragon City. It was just too terrifying. It was like a huge wave had risen up on the surface of the sea. 5 days later, Zhuowen's communication talisman rang, and Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, the third dim star appeared in the flame star between Zhuowen's eyebrows, which meant that Zhuowen's Pangus sacred body had entered the 3-star realm. Of course, it was only at the early stage of the 3-star realm. Zhuowen looked at the Heavenly Way origin crystal vein, which had lost nearly 10% of its original value. He knew that after absorbing so much energy from the Heavenly Way origin crystal vein, he could only barely advance to the 3-star Pangus sacred body. Now, he finally knew how difficult it was to cultivate the Pangus sacred body. Moreover, Zhuowen also knew that the Pangus sacred body was a step every 3 stars, just like the 3 steps of Taoism. Each step had 3 realms. When the Pangus sacred body reached the 3-star realm, it would be extremely difficult to advance to the 4-star realm. The resources required would be unimaginable. Zhuowen knew that even if he absorbed all the energy from the Heavenly Way origin crystal vein, he would at most advance to the peak of the 3-star realm. It was basically wishful thinking to break through the 3-star realm and advance to the 4-star realm. Since there was no hope for him to break through to the 4-star realm, Zhuowen naturally did not plan to use up all the Heavenly Way origin crystal vein. He planned to use the remaining Heavenly Way origin crystal vein to shoot Hou Yi's divine arrows. The remaining 60% of the Heavenly Way origin crystal vein was enough for Zhuowen to shoot Hou Yi's divine arrows 2 more times. Zhuowen clenched his fists. After advancing to the 3-star Pangus sacred body, Zhuowen felt that his strength had multiplied many times. Now, he could kill Hunyuan Master even without using Taoist skills. Even the Heavens Will Master would have a hard time killing Zhuowen now. Of course, if Zhuowen reached the peak of the 3-star realm, his strength would increase by several times. He would be able to kill the Master of Destiny with his bare hands. That would be truly heaven-defying. At the same time, Zhuowen also realized that the space within Devourer King's body had begun to evolve into a real world after the strength of his doppelganger had increased. There were also various kinds of rules appearing in it. It would not be long before the space within Devourer King's body became a real world. After leaving the small world, Zhuowen opened the door and found Long Xiaonan, Lu Hantian, Mu Chenxue, and the others there. "Father, is everything ready?" Zhuowen asked. "Everything is ready. This time, we have selected people who are absolutely trustworthy. There are more than 1,000 of them, and they are the backbone of our Ryuka," Long Xiaotian said. "Bring them into the space-time roulette. There are countless spaces in the space-time roulette. It is more than enough to accommodate more than 1,000 people." Chapter 2686. The Phoenix people in the cold and dark starry sky. A broken meteorite exploded, and a green-haired corpse flew out from the meteorite, its eyes glowing with a green light. The green-haired corpse looked in the direction of the Huaxia heavenly region and muttered to itself, "Donghuang Tai is really fast. He has already begun to expand his territory? But this is good too. With Donghuang Tai causing such a huge commotion here, I think he will attract the attention of the sorcerer tribe. At that time, he won't notice me." The green-haired corpse laughed and came to the seal. Then, it punched the seal, and the terrifying fist force formed a terrifying spiral vortex. Crack, crack, crack. A dull sound rang out from the seal, and then countless cracks appeared on the surface of the seal. In the end, it collapsed into countless spots of light. "Break again." The green-haired corpse punched again, and the gap in the seal expanded several times. It looked like an endless black hole, and it was terrifying. The moment the seal was broken, the green-haired corpse turned into a green light and disappeared from the hole. Not long after the green-haired corpse disappeared, the black hole was filled with ghostly wails and howls. Then, black shadows swept out from the depths of the black hole like ghosts. Their voices were sharp and ear-piercing. "The seal has been broken. Although I don't know who did it, it's a good thing for us. Hee, I heard that there are many humans in the 8 heavens. Other than fighting in the starry sky, I haven't seen a human for a long time, let alone have a taste of one. I miss it so much." Since we're already out, let's kill to our heart's content, ha. The evil conversation, accompanied by the black shadows, continued to ring out. Rumble. Suddenly, a terrifying flame spewed out from the depths of the black hole. The black shadows that were still lingering at the entrance of the hole screamed the moment they came into contact with the flame, and then they were annihilated into ashes. Leave quickly, it's the Phoenix People's Almighty. What's going on? The Phoenix People are one of the 4 Shangzhen and one of the top 10 races. Why would such an almighty be interested in the 8 heavens? Who knows? If we encounter such an almighty, we should try to avoid them. Otherwise, we won't even know how we died. The black shadows were afraid, and they all ran away, not daring to get close to the black hole. The flame was still raging at the entrance of the black hole, and it was getting more and more intense. The flame was extremely terrifying. As it burned, the surrounding stars were distorted as if they disappeared. When the flames reached their most terrifying state, a figure slowly walked out. It was a tall man wearing a flaming armor, like a flaming god of war. This man's skin was a healthy wheat-colored color. His face was resolute, as if it had been carved by a knife. The edges and corners of his face were distinct, and there was a flame mark between his eyebrows. This person's flame mark was completely different from the flame star on Zhuo Wen's forehead. The flame star on Zhuo Wen's forehead was more like a dove, but this person's flame imprint was like a vivid flame. There is a member of our race in the barren 8 heavens, and he has awakened the Phoenix bloodline, which resonates with our ancestral land. He must be an extraordinary bloodline inheritor. We must bring such a genius back to the Phoenix people. If he is discovered by the human race or other races, our race will be destroyed. The flame mark between the man's eyebrows kept flashing. He looked forward with a hint of worry in his eyes. He knew very well that anyone who could resonate with the ancestral land was an earth-shattering, almighty figure in the Phoenix clan. Now, another such genius had appeared among the Phoenix people. It was a great fortune for the Phoenix people. However, such a genius was still wandering outside. It was very dangerous. If someone found out that he had the powerful Phoenix bloodline, he would be in great danger. We have to find this person as soon as possible. Fortunately, I have already informed the elders of our race. They will be here soon. I hope I'm not too late. The man murmured worriedly. Then he stepped on the starry sky with his right foot and rushed forward like a bolt of lightning. He was also a Phoenix people. He had a special ability to sense the bloodline of his own race. Therefore, the moment he entered the starry sky, he sensed the person who had awakened the Phoenix bloodline. Now, he was going to the place where that person was. Jun watched as the Ryuka people entered the space-time wheel. When all the Ryuka people had entered, Yun turned to Fire Plume and Steel Plume and said, "When we leave the great Brahma heaven domain and enter the starry sky, we will have to part ways. I hope you can take them to the Xianmi heaven domain first." "Brother Zhua, what do you mean?" Fire Plume and Steel Plume asked in surprise. Mu Chenshua also exclaimed, "Husband, are you not coming with us?" "I still have some things to do. I might be a little late." Zhuan smiled helplessly. He had collected the 3 space-time keys for some time, but he had not had the time to enter the space-time temple. Now that he was about to leave the Xianmi heaven domain, he naturally had to go to the space-time temple to take a look. Perhaps he would gain something. Mu Chenshua seemed to have guessed something. She nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Husband, be careful." Zhuan chuckled. He hugged Mu Chenshua and said, "Chenshua, don't worry. Your husband's life is very tough." Mu Chenshua giggled and flirted with Zhuan. Then, Zhuan arranged for everyone to enter the space-time wheel and leave the Dragon City. Half a day later, the space-time wheel had left the great Brahma heaven domain and entered the starry sky. The starry sky was filled with countless dead stars and trash stars. The entire starry sky was pitch black and lifeless. After Zhuan entered the starry sky, he immediately flew towards the heavenly moat. However, after flying for 2 hours, Zhuowen's pupils shrank. He felt an intense uneasiness in his heart. It was this uneasiness that made Zhuowen immediately stop the space-time wheel. "Husband, what's wrong?" Mu Chenshua looked at Zhuowen in surprise. Not only Mu Chenxue, but the rest of the people on the space-time will also looked puzzled. We have entered a huge trap array. I didn't notice it just now, but now I feel that something is wrong. Zhuowen's voice was gloomy and his heart was heavy. He had just become a heavenly Dao divine array master, and his understanding of array Dao was already very deep. However, he did not notice the trap array in front of him. He only realized that something was wrong after he had completely entered the trap array. He knew that the person who set up the trap array was definitely an extremely high-level divine array master. However, Zhuowen was puzzled. Why did the master of the trap array set up a trap array to trap them? Chapter 2687. Master Yuan Hui, what? We've entered an entrapment array? Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and the others were also shocked, and the confusion in their eyes became even more intense. Their understanding of array formations was only superficial, so until now, they had not realized that they were already in an entrapment array. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes slightly, waved his sleeve, and summoned 81 Beast Bone array discs. After setting up a Heavenly Dao-level defensive array around the space-time roulette, a powerful divine sense was born. His divine sense was much more advanced than his realm, and after sweeping around, he found a figure hiding directly below. What a powerful divine sense! You're just at the two extremities of life and death, yet you actually have such a powerful divine sense. It's really incredible. This figure also knew that he had been discovered by Zhuowen's divine sense, so he simply stopped hiding and openly appeared in front of the space-time roulette. Zhuowen looked over and found that the figure in front of him was a bald man in a loose robe. At this moment, the bald man was looking at Zhuowen with great interest, showing great interest in Zhuowen. Master Yuan Hui. Fire Plume and Steel Plume's faces changed drastically, and they cried out in fear, their bodies trembling. Your Master Yuan Hui. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. Fire Plume and Steel Plume had mentioned Master Yuan Hui to him before. He knew that Master Yuan Hui was an eternal-level divine array master sent by the Huangji family to repair the seal, and his array Dao had reached the acme of perfection. With just the array Dao, Master Yuan Hui could easily kill a master of heaven like Zoda. After all, the two were not in the same realm. Master Yuan Hui smiled slightly, and his eyes fell on Fire Plume and Steel Plume, and said casually, "Do you know about the death of Crown Prince Huangzi?" Fire Plume's pretty face turned pale, and she forced a smile. Master Yuan Hui must be joking. We haven't even met Crown Prince Huangzi, so how could we know about this? Grandmaster Yuan Hui nodded and continued, however, when I was at the place where Crown Prince Huangzi died, I extracted the auras from the two of you. When Crown Prince Huangzi died, the two of you should have been present, right? Fire Plume and Steel Plume were frightened, and they stammered, unable to speak. Master Yuan Hui's deterrence was too strong. This was a true eternal-level divine array master. Even the master of Purple Red House had to be respectful in front of Master Yuan Hui, not daring to show any neglect. This was a real big shot. To put it bluntly, such a big shot killing the two of them was no different from crushing an ant. Once Grandmaster Yuan Hui had the intention to kill them, they would definitely die without a doubt. Zhuowen's previous performance was extremely strong, but in the eyes of Fire Plume and Steel Plume, Zhuowen was far inferior to a big shot like Master Yuan Hui. Speak. With the strength of the two of you, you can't kill Huangzi. As long as you tell the truth, I won't make things difficult for the two of you, and I won't go back to the Huangji clan to spread rumors. Everything has nothing to do with you. Master Yuan Hui's voice was calm, but under this calmness, there was an unimaginable killing intent. Zhuowen looked on coldly. He wanted to see how Fire Plume and Steel Plume would answer Master Yuan Hui's questions. Sure enough, Fire Plume and Steel Plume felt their scalps go numb, but Fire Plume stubbornly said, Master Yuan Hui, we also happened to pass by after Crown Prince Huangzi fell. We don't know who killed Crown Prince Huangzi. Master Yuan Hui was still smiling, but this smile contained monstrous killing intent. The two of you have done well. Since the two of you don't know who the real murderer is, then die. As soon as Master Yuan Hui finished speaking, a huge vortex appeared above Fire Plume and Steel Plume. Immediately, The vortex's energy condensed into a huge hand that covered the sky and came crashing down towards Fire Plume and Steel Plume. At this moment, Fire Plume and Steel Plume were still on the space-time roulette. This attack was obviously not just aimed at Fire Plume and Steel Plume. Master Yuan Hui intended to kill everyone on the space-time roulette. Fire Plume and Steel Plume were so scared that their faces turned pale. The two of them were so scared that they didn't even dare to resist. Zhuan looked at Fire Plume and Steel Plume and couldn't help but shake his head. Immediately, he took a step forward, clenched his right fist, and punched out fiercely. Ever since Zhuan had advanced to the 3-star Pangu sacred body, his strength had increased exponentially. He wanted to test how powerful his 3-star Pangu sacred body was now. Boom! The fist tore through the starry sky and smashed into the vortex hand. Zhuan groaned and retreated dozens of steps. The vortex hand collapsed into countless light spots. Master Yuan Hui, who had his hands behind his back and didn't care, suddenly let out a soft cry of surprise when he found that the vortex hand had been shattered by Zhuowen's punch. He looked at the young man in white not far away with some surprise. In his perception, the young man in white didn't have a strong aura. He was only at the two extremities of life and death. How could he have such powerful strength? Did you kill Crown Prince Huangzi? Master Yuan Hui suddenly asked. It had to be said that Master Yuan Hui's reaction was very fast. After Zhuan showed his powerful strength, he had some guesses. Zhuan looked at Master Yuan Hui with a grave expression. His heart was gloomy. The blow just now was obviously a casual blow from Master Yuan Hui, but it had made him so embarrassed. He knew that now that he had condensed the 3-star Pangu sacred body, there was a big gap between him and Master Yuan Hui. If they really fought, Yuan wouldn't be a match for Master Yuan Hui at all if he didn't use the profound meaning. Thinking of the profound meaning, Zhuan felt bitter. Although he had advanced to the 3-star Pangu sacred body, his use of the profound meaning was still at the most basic level. Although he could use the profound meaning for a longer time, he still couldn't use it for too long. Moreover, Zhuan also found that the power of the profound meaning increased with the advancement of his Pangu sacred body. The moment he advanced to the 3-star Pangu sacred body, he used the profound meaning again. The power was much stronger than when he was still at the 2-star Pangu sacred body. Master Yuan Hui saw that Zhuan was silent and didn't answer his question. He frowned and was a little unhappy. In fact, he asked the question even though he already knew the answer. This young man had such powerful strength, and he was with Fire Plume and Steel Plume. He was undoubtedly the most suspicious person who killed Huangzi. Of course, he didn't think that Zhuan was responsible for Zoda's death. After all, Zoda was a destiny master. Although the young man in white in front of him was somewhat extraordinary, he was still far from being able to kill a destiny master. Chapter 2688. Chapter 2680. Landsman, brat, who killed Zoda? Master Yuan Hui continued to ask. If you let them go, I'll tell you who killed Huangzi and Zoda. Zhuan pointed at the space-time roulette behind him and said calmly. Master Yuan Hui chuckled and said coldly, Do you think I'm a fool? Now that you're trapped in my trap array, your life and death are in my hands. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. Why should I let them go? Do you really think I can't break your trap array? Zhuan narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Master Yuan Hui was stunned and immediately laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Even a God Array master of the same level would need a certain amount of time to break the trap array set up by him, an eternal Great Array master. However, this white rogue youth in front of him actually dared to say that he could break his trap array. He was really laughing his head off. Master Yuan Hui could tell at a glance that this white rogue youth came from the 8 heavens domains. A guy who came from this barren land without resources was probably not even a heavenly Great Array master, yet he dared to say that he could break his trap array. Zhuan ignored Master Yuan Hui's ridicule and silently circulated the energy in his body. He immediately used the profundity of restriction he obtained from the Pangu banner, Primordial Chaos Infinity. Primordial Chaos Infinity, as the name suggested, could imprison anything. This profundity was similar to the Array Dao restriction of cultivators, but it was superior to array Dao restriction. Moreover, Zhuan also found that primordial chaos infinity not only had the ability to imprison, but also had the ability to break restrictions. As long as it was related to restrictions, primordial chaos infinity could break it. Master Yuan Hui's trap array was indeed powerful, but Zhuan was more confident in primordial chaos infinity. Primordial chaos infinity was the profundity of the Panga banner. Although primordial chaos infinity might not be able to completely break the array restriction, Zhuan believed that it would not be a problem to break a small gap and let the space-time roulette escape. Thinking of this, Zhuan waved his right hand and the power of primordial chaos infinity swept out. It turned into a purple light and landed on the edge of the trap array on the left. Master Yuan Hui saw this scene and did not stop it. However, the mocking smile on his face became even more intense. In his opinion, Yuan was just a joke. He wanted to see what would happen to this guy who was seriously injured by the backlash of the trap array restriction. His trap array was not an ordinary trap array. It also contained a powerful killing intent. Once a cultivator was trapped inside and tried to escape from the trap array, they would suffer a backlash from the trap array. However, what happened next made Hui's eyes too was Yuan Hui was stunned chaos infinity IOI. He realized that the moment Zhuan's attack landed on the edge of the trap array, the energy shield at the edge of the trap array shook violently. Then, a huge gap cracked open. Then, Zhuan immediately controlled the space-time roulette and escaped from the gap before Master Yuan Hui could react. This guy. How did he do it? Master Yuan Hui muttered to himself after he came back to his senses. He was furious. An existence that he regarded as an ant had escaped from the trap array he had set up. This was a slap to his face. I must kill you. Master Yuan Hui's killing intent was monstrous. He immediately took a step forward and chased after the space-time roulette at an extremely fast speed. In the space-time roulette, Zhuan's eyes were gloomy. He realized that Master Yuan Hui was constantly approaching from 100,000 miles behind him. He had already pushed the space-time roulette speed to the limit, but he still couldn't shake off Master Yuan Hui. Instead, the distance between them was constantly being pulled closer. Zhuan knew that he couldn't continue like this. Otherwise, Master Yuan Hui would eventually catch up to him. You guys go first. I'll hold off Master Yuan Hui. Zhuan summoned Xiao He and let Xiao He control the space-time roulette. Before anyone could react, he had already rushed out of the space-time roulette and faced Master Yuan Hui. When everyone finally reacted, they could only vaguely see Zhuan's back standing in the distant starry sky. Brother Zhua is going to face Master Yuan Hui alone? Fire Plume asked worriedly. As a cultivator of the Xianmi heavenly domain, Fire Plume knew very well how terrifying Master Yuan Hui was. Even a second-step Dao validation cultivator would be extremely cautious in front of Master Yuan Hui, let alone Zhuan. Mu Chenxue frowned slightly and remained silent. Something is rushing towards us. Suddenly, Tong Chimei pointed at the distant starry sky in front of the space-time roulette. There, a light spot was rushing towards them at an incredible speed. Its speed was so fast that it shocked the world. What is that? It's so fast. Fire Plume exclaimed in surprise. Mu Chenxue also raised her head to look at the light spot. Her beautiful eyes revealed a confused look. She didn't know why, but the aura emitted by the light spot gave her a sense of familiarity. It was a very strange feeling. It's a ball of flames. It seems like there's a figure in the flames. Tong Chimei cried out in alarm when the speck of light got closer. Mu Chenxue, Fire Plume, and the others finally saw the figure in the flames clearly. Moreover, the figure was rushing towards them, which made them extremely puzzled. The flame landed in front of the space-time roulette. Immediately, the robust man surrounded by flames knelt on one knee and faced Mu Chenxue's direction. This lowly one, Kong Shi, of the Phoenix people, pays his respects to Milady. Mu Chenxue was stunned when she heard this. Fire Plume and the others were even more stunned. You're from the Phoenix people? Fire Plume asked with a strange look in his eyes. Kong Shi coldly glanced at Fire Plume until the latter felt uncomfortable. Only then did Kong Shi's gaze fall on Mu Chenxue. His eyes were blazing with intense passion. His heart was surging with excitement because when he approached the woman in front of him, Kong Shi could clearly feel his bloodline boiling, trembling, and fearful. Only the truly noble experts among the Phoenix people could cause such an abnormal reaction in his bloodline. They were also the true rulers of the Phoenix people. There was no doubt that the beautiful woman in front of him was not only one of his clansmen, but also possessed an extremely rich Phoenix bloodline. She was extremely extraordinary. No wonder she could resonate with the ancestral land. This clansman in front of me is a true genius. If she can enter the Phoenix people's nirvana rebirth, she will be even more heaven-defying. Our Phoenix people will have hope of rising again. Thinking of this, Kong Shi's reverence for Mu Qinshui grew even more. In the Eldritch Heaven domain, all the races valued bloodlines. The nobility of one's bloodline also determined one's future achievements and directly affected one's future path. Chapter 2689. Kong Shi. Although Mu Qinshui didn't know the origins of the Phoenix people, she could guess that the Phoenix people had something to do with the Phoenix bloodline in her body. Moreover, from Kong Shi's attitude, Mu Qinshui could also guess that the Phoenix bloodline she had awakened was extraordinary. Otherwise, Kong Shi wouldn't be so respectful. Although Mu Qinshui could not see through Kong Shi's specific cultivation, from the powerful aura faintly emanating from Kong Shi, Mu Qinshui knew that this Kong Shi in front of her must be a second-step Dao-confirming expert. Mu Qinshui's eyes lit up when she thought about how her husband was facing Master Yuan Hui alone. My lord, you have an extremely powerful Phoenix bloodline in your body. It's too dangerous for you to be outside. Not only will the Xianmi heavenly domain's human race covet you, but if the other races in the primitive heavenly domain detect your bloodline, they won't let you go either, Kong Shi said respectfully. What do you mean? Mu Qinshui asked calmly. Follow me to meet the Phoenix people. Your bloodline is so powerful. If you can obtain the power of nirvana, you will become the new saintess of the Phoenix people. You will enjoy endless glory and become extremely powerful, Kong Shi said. Mu Qinshui didn't answer Kong Shi directly. Instead, she said calmly, just now, a divine array master of the human race chased after me. In order to save me, my husband blocked that divine array master alone. Now you have to help my husband. Kong Shi was stunned and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect Mu Qinshui to have a Dao companion. Moreover, from the way she addressed him, it could be seen that Mu Qinshui valued her Dao companion very much. This made Kong Shi very unhappy. In Kong Shi's eyes, Mu Qinshui was bound to become the saintess of the Phoenix people. Since she was the saintess, she had to be pure. How could she have a Dao companion? If this matter were to spread to the ears of the other clans, it would be a disgrace to the Phoenix clan. However, Kong Shi naturally wouldn't say this in front of Mu Qinshui. After all, once Mu Qinshui joined the Phoenix people, her status would instantly surpass his. He didn't dare to offend his future boss. However, Kong Shi was already unhappy with the Dao companion mentioned by Mu Qinshui. If there was a chance, he wouldn't mind making that person suffer a little. What? You're not willing? If you don't want to, I won't force you, but I won't go to the Phoenix people either. When Mu Qinshui saw Kong Shi's embarrassed expression, her beautiful eyes immediately turned cold, but her heart was a little anxious. Right now, she couldn't find a strong helper. Kong Shi, who had delivered himself to her door, was obviously not weak. If she had Kong Shi's help, she might be able to fight against Master Yuan Hui. Kong Shi smiled bitterly and hurriedly said, My lady, you must be joking. As long as it's your order, Kong Shi naturally won't refuse. Now, please lead the way. Kong Shi will go and take a look. Come with me. Mu Qinshui nodded and calmly instructed Xiao He to return the way they came. Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and the others stood on the deck and didn't say a word. They also knew that they couldn't interrupt. They could feel that Kong Shi's aura was extremely powerful. It might not be weaker than Master Yuan Hui. They absolutely didn't dare to casually interrupt such a big shot. After all, Kong Shi was polite to Mu Qinshui because Mu Qinshui had a powerful Phoenix bloodline. Otherwise, with Kong Shi's strength, how could he be so polite to Mu Qinshui, who was only the heavenly Dao master? Moreover, they weren't Muchenshua. If they casually interrupted, Kong Shi would probably immediately teach them a lesson. Zhuan took a deep breath and put his left index and middle fingers together. Then, he suddenly hooked them up and circulated the profound meaning of forbidden, primordial chaos infinity, and blasted it behind him. Instantly, the formation disk that Master Yuan Hui had thrown out was blasted to smithereens by Zhuowen's hook. The killing formation contained within also vanished like smoke. Grandmaster Yuan Hui's eyes were overflowing with killing intent. The formations he had unleashed time and time again were actually ineffective against Zhuowen. They were all destroyed by him. This made Grandmaster Yuan Hui feel both shock and anger toward Zhuowen. He wanted nothing more than to immediately kill Zhuowen. Of course, Master Yuan Hui was also extremely puzzled. His level in the Tao of formations was already considered high. In the Xianmi heavenly domain, there weren't many people who could surpass him in the Tao of formations. It was very difficult for ordinary people to break through his formations, let alone someone like Zhuowen, who was able to shatter his formations in an instant. This was just too strange. Master Yuan Hui guessed that Zhuowen definitely had some kind of treasure that specialized in restraining formations. If he could obtain this treasure in Zhuowen's hands, Master Yuan Hui's heart couldn't help but burn. When the time came, he would be even more fearless when facing those difficult formations. This would be extremely useful for him when he entered the secret realm in the future and broke through the great formations. I have to kill this kid. Not only is his strength terrifying, but he also has this kind of method to break formations. He definitely has a huge secret. Once I kill him, all his secrets will be mine. Grandmaster Yuan Hui thought to himself. His methods had indeed become even more ferocious. Master Yuan Hui waved his sleeve and actually took out a chessboard made entirely of crystal from his small world. Master Yuan Hui formed a seal with both hands, then slapped his palms on the chessboard. An invisible ripple rapidly swept out from the chessboard. It moved extremely quickly. Zhuan only felt a gentle breeze brush past his face. Afterwards, he became puzzled. Afterwards, he discovered that there were two lines that intersected beneath his feet. He was familiar with this intersection. It was the intersection of the lines on the chessboard. He looked around and discovered that the starry sky had formed a huge chessboard. Zhuowen, on the other hand, seemed to have become an insignificant chess piece on this huge chessboard. This is a life-bound god artifact that I've refined after studying it for a very long time. It's called the world of chess. In the world of chess, your life and death are no longer up to you. Master Yuan Hui hovered in the center of the chessboard. He looked down at Zhuowen indifferently, as if he was looking down on all life. Zhuowen's heart sank. Although his movements were not restricted by much as he stood on the chessboard, a layer of haze appeared in his heart. Bang, bang, bang. As expected, a white chess piece suddenly shot out from the nearby chessboard. Instead of calling it a chess piece, Zhuowen felt like it was more like a huge, white rock. It just looked like a chess piece. Rumble. The chess piece moved extremely quickly. It shot through the air and landed above the intersection where Zhuowen stood. Afterwards, it plummeted straight down as if an invisible hand had grabbed the chess piece and wanted to land it on the intersection where Zhuowen stood. Zhuowen wanted to dodge, but he discovered that the lines on the chessboard began to light up the moment he raised his foot. Afterwards, he discovered that the lines were indestructible, revolving around Zhuowen. Chapter 2690. Predicament. Zhuowen also sensed the power and danger of these lines. In the end, he did not take a step forward. Instead, he faced the huge chess piece that was flying towards him. Zhuowen did not hesitate to unleash the power of the three-star Pangu's sacred body. He punched out, and a series of explosions came from the starry sky. It was as if something powerful had exploded inside the starry sky. Boom! Zhuowen's heart sank when his fist landed on the chess piece. This was because he found that the strength of the chess piece was beyond his expectations. Seal! Zhuowen did not hesitate to use the ultimacy, Hongmengwuji, to seal the chess piece in midair. He then jumped up and landed on the chess piece. Bush, bush, bush. The moment Zhuowen landed on the chess piece, other chess pieces also flew out from the other positions on the chessboard. These chess pieces were black and white, but they all had the same goal. They were all heading towards Yuan. Yuan activated Hong Meng Wuji to the extreme. The moment the chess pieces landed in front of him, they were all frozen in midair by his Hong Meng Wuji ultimacy. They became his stepping stones. Yuan also relied on these chess pieces to pave the path under his feet. The end of the path was the position of Tian Yuan, which was also where Master Yuan Hui was. Master Yuan Hui looked at Yuan, who was getting closer to Tian Yuan, with a look of surprise. He did not expect this guy to come up with such a way to get close to Tian Yuan. The world of chess is dominated by me. You can't get close to Tian Yuan. Master Yuan Hui shook his head and then stomped his right foot. Suddenly, the lines on the chessboard broke away and leaped into the sky. They chaotically intertwined and formed an unprecedentedly huge monster with a human face and a snake's body. The monster with a human face and a snake's body opened its huge mouth and exuded a choking stench. Master Yuan Hui sneered as he looked at Zhuowen, who was still dealing with the chess pieces around him. He did not think that Zhuowen could escape his attack. Zhuowen looked at the monster that was rushing towards him and frowned. He formed a seal with his right hand and used the ultimacy sky-opening blade. The surface of his right palm turned into a blade. A faint light covered the surface of his palm. It was as if a light blade had suddenly shot out. The sky-opening blade, which stood sky-opening blade, landed on the head of the monster. Sky-opening blade. The monster sky-opening blade. The sky-opening blade. Blood, Zhuowen, blood, his face and his face. Using two ultimacies at the same time. Is a sky-opening blade. Is sky-opening using ultimacy? Zhuowen looked at the shocked Master Yuan Hui and used his left hand to use the ultimacy primordial infinity. He stopped the chess pieces that were rushing towards him and began to change their paths in an attempt to escape from the chessboard. Master Yuan Hui came back to his senses. When he saw that Zhuowen was trying to escape, he immediately thought of the move that Zhuowen had just used. It must have been his greatest trump card and consumed a lot of energy. Master Yuan Hui, of course, would not let Zhuowen leave. Master Yuan Hui rolled up his right sleeve. The surface of his right hand was engraved with red runes. Then, Master Yuan Hui's right hand formed a palm and slammed it on the ground. In an instant, the red runes emitted a dazzling red light. Then, the entire chessboard surged like a tsunami. The surface of the chessboard was undulating. Then, numerous chess pieces flew out and shot toward Zhuowen. When Zhuowen saw the densely packed chess pieces, his expression immediately changed. Every chess piece on the chessboard was extremely powerful. At most, Zhuowen could only deal with a dozen chess pieces at the same time. However, there were hundreds and thousands of chess pieces this time. There were too many of them. Zhuowen knew that he would not be able to deal with them all. Zhuowen sighed. He still had the powerful trump card of Hou Yi's godly arrow. He knew that as long as he shot out Hou Yi's godly arrow, he would be able to severely injure Master Yuan Hui or even kill Master Yuan Hui. However, he knew that Hou Yi's godly arrow was a single-target attack. Moreover, it took too long to charge up. If he did not lock onto Master Yuan Hui immediately, he would be in a passive position. He might even be killed by Master Yuan Hui's sneak attack. Zhuowen using Hou Yi's god arrow to block such a large-scale attack would be an idiotic move. Moreover, Yuan did not have any powerful defensive means. He could not block the attacks of so many chess pieces. At the critical moment, Yuan took out the escape talisman that he had plundered from Huang Zhe's small world. Huang Zhe was the heir of Huang Ji family. The escape talisman on him was extremely high level. Zhuowen did not understand it. He only knew that the escape talisman was very powerful. Now that he was in such a life-and-death situation, he did not hesitate to use one of the escape talismans. Bang! Zhuowen disappeared on the spot and appeared at the edge of the chessboard. However, he was blocked by the energy barrier at the edge and was sent back into the chessboard. Zhuowen's expression turned ugly. He knew that Master Yuan Hui still had a backup plan. The chessboard was a huge barrier. It was not as simple as it looked. Escape talisman? It seems like you can really kill Crown Prince Huang Zhe. This escape talisman belongs to Crown Prince Huang Zhe. Master Yuan Hui looked at Zhuan, who was sent back by the chessboard barrier. He also saw the talisman that had turned to ashes in Zhuan's hand and sneered. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Another batch of hundreds and thousands of chess pieces tore through the air and surrounded Zhuan from all directions. They crushed toward Zhuan again. Zhuan felt helpless. He could only use the escape talisman again. He had obtained a total of 12 escape talismans from Huang Zhe. Now that he had used 2 of them, it made his heart ache. Next, Yuan could only use the escape talisman again and again. Master Yuan Hui's chessboard barrier was too confining. With Zhuowen's strength, he could not break it. Master Yuan Hui also saw that Zhuowen had the ability to break the barrier. Therefore, after Zhuowen used the escape talisman, he immediately attacked to prevent Zhuowen from using the profound primordial infinity. Zhuowen was pressured by Master Yuan Hui's continuous attacks. He did not even have the time to use the profound primordial infinity. He could only crush the escape talisman in a hurry. Seeing that the escape talismans in his hand were getting fewer and fewer, Zhuowen's heart sank. When Zhuowen crushed the last escape talisman, he let out a soft sigh. He could only watch helplessly as countless chess pieces surrounded him from all directions. He decided to give it a try. He wanted to use the ultimate profound Pangu's shadow. This ultimate profound was the most powerful profound of the Panga banner. It was said that at least the 7-star Pangu's sacred body was required to use it. Otherwise, the body might not be able to withstand it and directly collapse. Boom! Chapter 2691. Big Word. Zhuowen was startled and could not help but look behind him. Only then did he realize that a man surrounded by flames had landed on the edge of the chessboard like a god descending to the mortal world. It was this man who had shattered the chessboard's barrier with a single punch, indirectly saving Zhuowen's life. At the same time, Yuan also noticed the space-time roulette behind the man. Mu Chenxue, Fire Plume, and the others were on it. When they saw that Zhuowen was unscathed, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Master Yuan Hui frowned slightly and could not help but look at the man surrounded by flames. He felt a sense of danger from this man and could not help muttering to himself, "Eternal Overlord?" Eternal Overlord was the 3rd stage of the 2nd step of Dao validation. Theoretically, it was on the same level as Master Yuan Hui. After all, Master Yuan Hui was an eternal level array Dao master. However, in terms of combat strength, Master Yuan Hui was not as good as a real Eternal Overlord. After all, Eternal Overlords were cultivated and specialized in combat. They were extremely powerful. On the other hand, Eternal Level Array Dao Master mainly refined arrays, not for combat. In a one-on-one fight, Eternal Level Array Dao Master would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, Master Yuan Hui was extremely wary when he learned that the man who had suddenly appeared was an Eternal Overlord. "Your Excellency, who are you?" "I am Yuan Hui of the Huangji family. Why are you interfering in my private affairs?" Master Yuan Hui said coldly. The flaming man who had suddenly appeared was none other than the Phoenix people's powerhouse, Kong Shi. Because the Phoenix people looked almost exactly the same as the human race, the only difference was the Phoenix bloodline in their bodies. Therefore, it was impossible to tell the difference between the Phoenix people and the human race. Because Master Yuan Hui had sealed the passage to the primitive heavenly realm, he subconsciously thought that the powerhouses of the primitive heavenly realm could not enter, so he did not think that Kong Shi was from the primitive heavenly realm. Kong Shi didn't even look at Master Yuan Hui. Instead, his attention fell on Zhuowen. He said coldly, "You are Zhuowen?" Zhuowen frowned slightly. He realized that the moment Kong Shi looked at him, he felt that this person's gaze was somewhat unfriendly. Although Zhuowen felt uncomfortable with this person's gaze, this person had saved his life after all, so he still cupped his fists and thanked him politely. Kong Shi sneered and ignored Zhuowen. Instead, he shifted his gaze to Master Yuan Hui. Zhuowen was baffled. He felt that this man who had suddenly appeared seemed to have a bad impression of him. Especially after this sneer, Zhuowen was somewhat speechless. He didn't seem to have done anything to make this man unhappy. Moreover, he had never seen this person before. Zhuowen stepped onto the space-time roulette. Fire Plume and Steel Plume looked at Zhuowen strangely. They never thought that Zhuan would be able to tangle with Master Yuan Hui for so long. This was too abnormal. Zhuan looked at Mu Chenxue and asked, "Chenxue, who is this person?" Mu Chenxue told him everything that had happened, not hiding anything. "Then, this person is a powerhouse of the Phoenix people?" Zhuan asked in surprise. Mu Chenxue nodded. Fire Plume quickly added, "The Phoenix people are one of the 4 Shangzhen of the Great Desolate Heavenly Realm. They are one of the top 10 races in the Great Desolate Heavenly Realm and are extremely powerful." Hearing this, Yun fell silent. Then he looked at Mu Chenxue and said, "Chenxue, are you planning on going to the Phoenix people with this person?" Mu Chenxue revealed a faint smile and said, "Husband, you should be able to tell. I'm too weak. Whether it is the Xianmi Heavenly Realm or the Great Desolate Heavenly Realm, I am at the lowest level of cultivation. If I don't think of ways to become stronger, I won't be able to protect the people I want to protect. I don't like this kind of powerlessness." Zhuan gave a sigh in his heart. Actually, when he heard Mu Chenxue talk about the Phoenix people, he had already guessed that Mu Chenxue would want to go with them. This was because he could feel Mu Chenxue's desire to become stronger. It was just like Zhuan himself. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, he did not want to be at the bottom and did not want to be a burden to others. "Husband, although my decision is a bit unfair to you." Mu Chenxue could see that Zhuan was a bit disappointed. She wanted to explain, but she was cut off by Zhuan. Zhuan said with a gentle smile, "Chenxue, as long as it's your decision, I will not go against it. Actually, your decision is correct. The Phoenix bloodline in your body is too strong. If you don't go back to the Phoenix people and don't seek the protection of the Phoenix people, your bloodline will be coveted by many people." Mu Chenxue looked at Zhuan and her eyes misted over. She emotionally said, "Husband, thank you." Zhuan nodded. Then he looked at the Master Yuan Hui and Kong Shi not far away. Zhuan's eyes revealed killing intent as he said, "Chenxue, this Master Yuan Hui must be killed, otherwise he will become a disaster." Mu Chenxue nodded. Even without Zhuan saying this, she did not plan on letting this Master Yuan Hui go. This Master Yuan Hui was a member of the Huangji family and he knew that Zhuan was a murderer. If this Master Yuan Hui was allowed to go back, the Huangji family would quickly find out that this matter was done by Zhuan. With the Huangji family's influence and Zhuan's shallow foundation, it was impossible for him to fight against a giant like the Huangji family. Thinking of this, Mu Chenxue sent a voice transmission to Kong Shi, asking him to kill this Master Yuan Hui. Kong Shi secretly glanced at Mu Chenxue behind him. At the same time, he coldly glanced at Zhuan beside her. He knew that Mu Chenxue's request was most likely this despicable youth's suggestion. Thinking of this, Kong Shi's impression of this youth became even worse. At the same time, Kong Shi felt a headache coming on. Although he was an eternal overlord, he had just advanced not long ago. He was weaker than the average eternal overlord. Although Master Yuan Hui was not as strong as an eternal overlord, Kong Shi was only slightly stronger than this Master Yuan Hui. It would be very difficult for him to kill this Master Yuan Hui. Zhuan also saw the difficulty in Kong Shi's eyes. He also sent a voice transmission. "Brother Kong, you just need to delay this Master Yuan Hui. Leave the killing of this Master Yuan Hui to me." Kong Shi almost laughed his teeth out. Was there something wrong with this youth's head? He had just escaped danger because of him, but now he was saying that he could kill this Master Yuan Hui? Was this a joke? I say there should be a limit to your jokes, right? Do you think I'll believe you if you say you can kill this person? Kong Shi couldn't help but mock. Zhuan's face darkened. Kong Shi had actually directly stated his goal. Even the distant Master Yuan Hui had heard it. Fortunately, Master Yuan Hui didn't take Zhuan's words seriously. He was mainly focused on Kong Shi. Zhuan sighed softly. Fortunately, he hadn't exposed his Ho-E God arrows. If Master Yuan Hui knew he still had them, he would probably run away immediately. There was no way he would still be in a deadlock with Kong Shi. Yes, you just need to delay this Master Yuan Hui. Leave the killing of this Master Yuan Hui to me. Whether you believe it or not, your mission is to delay Master Yuan Hui. You don't need to ask about anything else, Zhuan said calmly. Kong Shi's pupils shrank. He was extremely unhappy with Zhuowen's attitude. However, when he saw Mu Qinshue's signal, he could only snort coldly and reluctantly take action. Chapter 2692. Intent to retreat. Bang, bang, bang. Kong Shi took a step forward. Flames surged like a huge wave, and he became the master of the center of this huge wave of flames. He quickly rushed in front of Master Yuan Hui and rapidly threw out several punches. Each punch carried an extremely terrifying temperature, causing the starry sky to distort and collapse. Master Yuan Hui revealed a solemn expression. He pointed with both hands, and array flags flew out like stars, circling around Master Yuan Hui. Invisible ripples of energy undulated, resisting Kong Shi's violent attacks. The two of them fought, shaking the heavens and earth. Their auras were like dragons, and everywhere they passed, everything turned into ruins. Even the surrounding starry sky laws seemed to have been shattered by the terrifying aftershocks of their battle. Zhuowen protected Mu Qinshui, Fire Plume, and the others. He controlled the space-time roulette to retreat to a safe distance before stopping. Let's escape quickly. Master Yuan Hui isn't an ordinary eternal-level divine array master, Fire Plume hurriedly said. As for Zhuowen's bold declaration of wanting to kill Grandmaster Yuan Hui, Huiyu had long since tossed it to the back of her mind. In her opinion, Zhuowen was just boasting. Yuan shook his head and said, "Later, Master Yuan Hui will be a disaster if we let him go. We must kill him here." Fire Plume and Steel Plume were shocked. They had always thought that Zhuowen was just joking. They didn't expect that this guy really intended to kill Master Yuan Hui. However, although they thought that Zhuowen's strength was extraordinary, the gap between him and an eternal overlord was too great. They didn't think that Zhuowen had the strength to kill an eternal overlord. One must know that even the terrifyingly powerful Kong Shi was only barely able to suppress Grandmaster Yuan Hui. It was simply wishful thinking for him to kill Grandmaster Yuan Hui. "Brother Zhua, it's not that I don't believe you, but Master Yuan Hui is an eternal-level god formation master after all. He's not an ordinary cat or dog." Steel Plume frowned. Zhuowen smiled and did not answer Steel Plume. Instead, he took out Ho Yi's divine arrow. Everyone looked at the Ho Yi divine arrow Zhuowen had taken out in puzzlement. The Ho Yi divine arrow was an ordinary horn of some strange beast. The only thing that surprised them was that the bloodstains on the surface of the horn seemed to be unusual. Could it be that Zhuowen was planning to use this ordinary horn to kill Master Yuan Hui? Thinking of this, Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and the others shook their heads secretly. They felt that Zhuowen was a little too confident in the horn. Not far away, Kong Shi and Master Yuan Hui, who were originally fighting, naturally noticed Zhuowen's actions. When they realized that Zhuowen had only taken out a very ordinary horn, Master Yuan Hui sneered disdainfully. Kong Shi's eyes were filled with killing intent. In his opinion, Zhuowen was simply toying with him. This kid definitely can't kill Grandmaster Yuan Hui. Once this battle is over, I'll use this as an excuse to teach this kid who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a good lesson. Kong Shi thought coldly in his heart. But soon, the expressions of Kong Shi and Master Yuan Hui, who were originally looking down on Lin Fan, changed. This was because they felt a terrifying killing intent that they had never felt before. This killing intent was simply too terrifying. Even at their current cultivation level, they still felt their hearts tremble. They could not help but tremble in fear. What a terrifying killing intent. This killing intent is coming from Zhuowen's side. Kong Shi's pupils shrank to the size of needles. After he focused his attention on Zhuowen behind him again, his attention was immediately attracted by the ordinary horn in Zhuowen's hand. This was because he realized that the originally ordinary horn was actually releasing a terrifying killing intent that made him tremble in fear. If the horn was just an ordinary horn before, then this horn was now a peerless monster with a terrifying power that was gradually awakening. Master Yuan Hui was also shocked. He looked at the blood-stained horn in Zhuowen's hand in disbelief, and his heart sank. Just the killing intent alone was enough to make him feel like he was facing the threat of death. Moreover, the killing intent was still increasing in strength. Clearly, if the killing intent reached its peak and shot out, It was very difficult for him to imagine whether he would be able to dodge it. Let's go! After feeling such a terrifying killing intent, Grandmaster Yuan Hui no longer intended to continue entangling with Kong Shi. He knew that if this continued, then he might really be left behind here for good. Kong Shi, keep Master Yuan Hui busy. At this moment, Zhuan mobilized the energy within him. At the same time, he used the Devourer King's devouring ability to devour the energy of the special-grade origin crystals in the miniature world and feed it back to Hou Yi's arrow. Zhuowen smiled bitterly to himself as he watched the energy in the vein of special-grade Heavenly Dao origin crystals dwindle. Hou Yi's god arrow was truly a glutton. Just a single arrow could consume such a terrifying amount of energy. At the same time, Yuan sensed that Master Yuan Hui was about to flee, so he hurriedly warned Kong Shi. Hou Yi's arrow had just been released and it was still a little far from Master Yuan Hui. It would probably take some time for the killing intent to completely lock onto Master Yuan Hui. As long as the terrifying killing intent of Hou Yi's arrow locked onto Master Yuan Hui wouldn't be able to escape from Hou Yi's arrow no matter where he went. Kong Shi gave Zhuowen a deep look. He was also shocked in his heart. This kid actually had such a terrifying killing weapon. Now that he received Zhuowen's warning, he knew that this was a rare opportunity. Flames erupted from his body and a huge phoenix phantom formed behind him. Kong Shi's strength increased by a lot. Master Yuan Hui couldn't help but curse when he saw Kong Shi erupt with all his strength to keep him busy. His fighting strength was originally slightly weaker than ordinary Eternal Lords. Now that Kong Shi had unleashed the power of his bloodline, the situation was extremely bad for Master Yuan Hui. I have to run. Master Yuan Hui had a premonition that if he waited for Zhuowen to release his Hou Yi divine arrow, it would be impossible for him to escape even if he wanted to. Therefore, now was the best time to escape. At the thought of this, Master Yuan Hui no longer held back. He took out the chessboard again and bit the tip of his tongue, spitting a mouthful of blood essence onto the chessboard. In an instant, the transparent chessboard was covered in blood. Countless lines shot out from the chessboard, and they were all dyed blood red. Lines shot out and surrounded Master Yuan Hui, forming a powerful blood-red barrier around him. After the blood-colored boundary was formed, blood-colored chess pieces flew out from the chessboard. The blood-colored chess pieces were like ferocious beasts. They flew out one after another and surged toward Kong Shi. Chapter 2693. Killing Yuan Hui. Bang, bang, bang. Kong Shi's fists were like a storm. His body was surrounded by an incomparably large phantom of a phoenix. However, the more Kong Shi attacked, the more shocked he became. The blood-red barrier formed by Master Yuan Hui was too powerful. Moreover, there seemed to be no end to the blood-red chess pieces that flew out from it. They flew towards Kong Shi in an unending stream and bombarded him. Even though Kong Shi had unleashed all of his bloodline power, he still ended up running for his life under the endless attacks of the blood-red chess pieces. Explode! Master Yuan Hui's eyes shone with cold light and killing intent. Immediately, he formed a seal with both hands and spat out another mouthful of blood essence, sprinkling it on the barrier. Instantly, the blood-red barrier seemed to have been touched by some kind of taboo. It actually began to surge violently. Then, it began to compress continuously. As it continued to compress, the pressure within the barrier increased by hundreds and thousands. Kong Shi, who was within the barrier, was affected by the pressure and his movements became sluggish. He was deeply affected. This guy, Kong Shi's heart sank. He finally felt the terror of the barrier. He regretted not dodging when Master Yuan Hui used the barrier. If he had dodged, the barrier would be nothing to him. Boom, boom, boom. When the blood-red barrier was compressed to the extreme, it suddenly exploded. The terrifying explosive energy surged out and spread in all directions like rolling waves. Kong Shi, who was at the center of the explosion, was drowned by the explosion. At the moment when the blood-red barrier exploded, Master Yuan Hui looked at Zhuowen, who was still accumulating power not far away. His eyes flashed and his killing intent exploded. He was weighing the pros and cons. Now that Kong Shi was restrained by his barrier, should he escape or should he completely kill Zhuan? Thinking of the terror of the blood-stained horn in Zhuowen's hand, Master Yuan Hui felt a surge of greed in his heart. Even he was tempted by such a powerful weapon. A ferocious creature like this will definitely need to accumulate power for a long time. This child is still accumulating power. As long as I kill him while he is accumulating power, all of his secrets will be mine. At that time, this ferocious creature will also become mine. In the end, Master Yuan Hui's greed overcame his rationality. He didn't understand how terrifying Hou Yi's divine arrow was, so he was hoping for a fluke. Master Yuan Hui made up his mind and immediately put it into action. He turned into a shadow and shot out, heading straight for Zhu. "Brother Zhua, be careful." Seeing Master Yuan Hui rush over, Fire Plume, Mu Chenxue, and the others all looked worried. Fire Plume even warned them. "It's fine," Zhuowen said. His eyes shone brightly as he watched Master Yuan Hui get closer and closer. After Master Yuan Hui detonated the barrier and restrained Kong Shi, Yuan was somewhat worried that Master Yuan Hui would leave. After all, he hadn't finished accumulating power, but he was actually very close. If Master Yuan Hui had decisively left, Zhuan knew that his accumulation of power this time would have been in vain, because the killing intent of the Hou Yi's divine arrow hadn't completely locked onto Master Yuan Hui. But now, Master Yuan Hui was actually planning to kill him. This was for the best. At least Zhuan still had time to shoot the Hou Yi's divine arrow. Once it was shot, Master Yuan Hui would at least be seriously injured. When Master Yuan Hui was only a few feet away from Zhuowen, the killing intent of the Hou Yi's divine arrow rose to another level. Then, it surged out like a tidal wave and suddenly locked onto Master Yuan Hui. Master Yuan Hui's heart trembled. He could feel the terrifying killing intent pouring down on him, causing him to involuntarily feel fear. Although he didn't know what was going on, he could guess that it definitely wasn't anything good. However, he was too close to Zhuowen right now, so he simply ignored the terrifying feeling. Instead, he sent out several formation flags into his right hand and viciously smashed them onto Zhuowen's head. He wanted to kill this kid with a single strike. Master Yuan Hui sneered as he looked at Zhuowen. He wanted to see the despair on Zhuowen's face. But very soon, Master Yuan Hui felt that something was wrong. This was because he didn't see any fear or despair on Zhuowen's face. Zhuowen seemed very calm. There was actually a trace of mockery in his eyes that should have been filled with despair. This trace of mockery was like a nail that was hammered into Master Yuan Hui's heart, causing Master Yuan Hui to feel extremely displeased. "You're about to die, yet you're still pretending to be calm," Master Yuan Hui mocked. Zhuowen smiled and didn't move. However, the mockery in his eyes became even stronger. "Puchi." The instant Master Yuan Hui's attack was about to land on Zhuowen, Master Yuan Hui heard the sound of an arrow leaving the bowstring. Then he felt a heart-wrenching pain from his chest. Then Master Yuan Hui felt his body become light as a feather. Zhuowen, who was originally very close to him, was actually moving away from him. But very soon he discovered that Zhuowen wasn't moving at all. Instead, he was retreating at a rapid pace. He lowered his head and looked at his chest. To his shock, he discovered that there was a huge wound on his chest. In this wound, a blood-stained horn had almost completely sunk into his chest. How is this possible? Just a little bit more, and I would have been able to kill this bastard. Master Yuan Hui only managed to utter these words before the terrifying power of Hou Yi's arrow tore his entire body apart. Zhuowen stood where he was, his face slightly pale. Looking at the torn Master Yuan Hui, he let out a soft sigh of relief. Thinking back to the sorry state he was in when he first fired Hou Yi's arrow, Zhuowen could be said to have improved tremendously. At the very least, he was able to stand firmly on the spot and not be sent flying by the terrifying recoil of Hou Yi's arrow. But even so, Zhuowen still felt weak, as if his body had been emptied. After taking out dozens of special-grade Heavenly Dao origin crystals and absorbing them all, Zhuowen finally felt the weakness in his body lessen significantly. Only then did he slowly walk over to where Master Yuan Hui had been torn apart. Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and even Mu Chenxue and the others all looked at this scene in shock. Mu Chenxue was pleasantly surprised, while Fire Plume and Steel Plume were horrified. Brother Zhue is too terrifying. If he enters the Xianmi heavenly domain, it won't be difficult for him to become an overlord. Fire Plume came back to her senses and bitterly muttered to herself. Although she and Steel Plume had overestimated Zhuowen as much as possible after this battle, she discovered that they had greatly underestimated Zhuowen. This kid had even killed an eternal grade divine array master. In the Xianmi heavenly domain, this kind of strength was enough to do whatever he wanted. At the same time, the two also thought of Huang Zhe's destined master bodyguard, Zoda. He looked at Kong Shi and said, "Since you are from the Phoenix people, you should be from the primitive heavenly realm, right? How did you enter the 8 heavens?" Kong Shi came back to his senses, looked at Zhuowen, and said strangely, "Don't you know that the passage between the primitive heavenly realm and the 8 heavens has been opened?" Zhuowen's pupils shrank and he said, "Who broke it? Was it an almighty of the primitive heavenly realm?" Zhuowen's heart sank. He didn't expect the seal of the primitive heavenly realm to be broken so quickly. The 8 heavens would no longer have peace. In addition, Dong Huangtai was eyeing the 8 heavens covetously. The 8 heavens would soon face an unprecedented disaster. Although Zhuowen wanted to help the 8 heavens, he also knew that his strength was limited. If he went to the 8 heavens now, he would be courting death. All he could do now was to protect his family, friends, and lovers. Kong Shi shook his head. "The seal of your 8 great heavens is extremely powerful. It is basically impossible to break it from the other side of the great desolate heaven realm. It was an existence from your 8 great heavens that opened the seal. As for who it was, I am not sure." Zhuowen gnashed his teeth in anger. He had already guessed who it was. It must be that green-haired mummy. After tricking him in the land of origin, it was impossible for this mummy to go to the Xianmi heavenly realm. After all, the Xianmi heavenly realm was the world of the human race. That green-haired mummy was obviously not a human. Going to the Xianmi heavenly realm was just courting death. Therefore, if the green-haired mummy wanted to leave the 8 heavens, it would definitely go to the primitive heavenly realm, which accommodated all races. However, what Zhuowen didn't expect was that the green-haired mummy was so ruthless. Not only did it release the almighty of the demon race, Dong Huangtai, but it also broke the seal of the primitive heavenly realm. It was a complete mess. However, Zhuowen also felt a little helpless. The green-haired mummy's body was extremely powerful. Even if Zhuowen had the 3-star Pangu's sacred body, he didn't have the confidence to fight it head-on. Moreover, the green-haired mummy was able to break the seal of the primitive heavenly realm. It could be seen that this fellow relied on the energy of the demon pearl to recover a lot of its strength. Taking a step back, the green-haired mummy had already gone to the primitive heavenly realm. Although Zhuowen didn't like the green-haired mummy, he knew that he couldn't find this fellow to take revenge on. "If Chen Shui goes to the Phoenix people with you, how will the Phoenix people treat Chen Shui?" Zhuowen asked coldly. Kong Shi coldly snorted and said, "Lady Chen Shui's bloodline is extremely powerful. It even resonated with the Phoenix people's ancestral land. You have to know that those who can resonate with the ancestral land are all earth-shattering super powerhouses in the history of the Phoenix people. Lady Chen Shui's future is limitless. If she goes to the Phoenix people, she will have the chance to become our clan's saintess." Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded. He could see that Kong Shi was indeed very respectful and submissive to Mu Chenxue. It seemed that the Phoenix bloodline in Mu Chenxue's body was indeed not ordinary. After Kong Shi finished speaking, he ignored Zhuowen and knelt on one knee in front of Mu Chenxue. He said, "Lady Chen Shui, Kong Shi is here to bring you back. You also know that with your powerful bloodline, it's too dangerous outside. Under the premise that you're not strong enough, it's best for you to come back with me." Mu Chenxue originally wanted to go to the Phoenix people with Kong Shi. She also felt that her strength was indeed a little weak. Especially after seeing Zhuowen's powerful battle strength, Mu Chenxue was even more determined to become stronger. She did not want to be a burden to Zhuowen in the future. She wanted to help Zhuowen and walk side by side with him. Mu Qinshuo nodded in agreement. Kong Shi's heart was filled with joy. Husband, you've offended the Huangji family and Impermanence Palace. Do you want to go to the Great Desolate Realm with me? Since the Phoenix people are a large clan in the Great Desolate Realm, they will definitely protect you. Mu Qinshuo looked at Zhuowen with a worried gaze as she spoke. Zhuowen shook his head and said, Chen Shui, you should understand my personality. I'm not the kind of person who likes to rely on others. Even if it's my own woman, I won't allow it. Mu Qinshuo revealed a faint smile as she carefully looked at Zhuowen. She understood Zhuowen better than anyone else. The reason why she said this was for Kong Shi to hear. She wanted Kong Shi to know that this youth in front of him had a very high position in Mu Qinshuo's heart. As expected, Kong Shi's expression was not good and he was also feeling a little distressed. If those old fellows in the clan knew that the Phoenix people's saintess already had a Dao companion, wouldn't they go crazy from anger? Chapter 2695. Three clan elders. Mu Qinshuo chatted with Zhuowen for a while, but her beautiful eyes were filled with reluctance. Zhuowen was the same, but he always respected his wife's decision and would not make a decision for Chen Shui. Sir Chen Shui, you should go. The passage to the Great Desolate Realm has already been opened and there are more and more life forms from the Great Desolate Realm entering the 8 heavens. I'm afraid we'll meet experts from other clans. Kong Shi said. At the same time, his communication jade talisman lit up with a dazzling light. Kong Shi looked it over and revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Kong Shi, what is it? Mu Qinshuo saw Kong Shi reveal a look of pleasant surprise, so she couldn't help asking this. Kong Shi said in a pleasantly surprised voice, Sir Chen Shui, the Phoenix people's 3rd clan elder has personally brought elites to welcome you. He knows that you're returning to the Phoenix people and is very excited, so he's urging me to bring you over. Although Mu Qinshuo did not know who the 3rd clan elder was, seeing Kong Shi reveal a look of awe when he mentioned the 3rd clan elder, she knew that the 3rd clan elder was an important person of the Phoenix people. Husband, I should go. Mu Qinshuo held Zhuowen's hand and said with a sigh. Zhuowen gave a sigh in his heart. He let go of Mu Qinshuo's jade-like hand and said with a smile, Chen Shui, go. Remember to take care of yourself when you go there. Also, if anyone bullies you and I find out, I will beat them up until their parents can't recognize them. Mu Qinshuo gave a laugh, but her beautiful eyes were filled with emotions. She gently hugged Zhuowen and kissed Zhuowen's forehead before leaving like a butterfly. Zhuowen looked at the beautiful figure that was taken away by Kong Shi and felt a sense of loss in his heart. However, he quickly calmed down. I'll send you to Heavenly Moat, we'll part ways there. Zhuowen turned to look at Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and Tong Qimei as he spoke with a smile. The 3 of them naturally did not have any objections and did not ask why Zhuowen was staying. In the cold and dark space, a terrifying stream of fire shot out. Everywhere it passed, everything was incinerated into nothingness. Upon closer inspection, one would discover that there were actually more than 10 figures floating within the flaming light. The auras of these dozen figures were extremely vast and terrifying. At this moment, there were already quite a number of living beings from the Desolation Heaven within the 8 heavens. These creatures of the Great Desolate Heaven realm were like evil spirits. Wherever they passed, they would cause inhumane slaughter and destruction. When the flaming light swept past, the creatures of the prehistoric heavenly realm all trembled and subconsciously dodged the flaming light that cut through the starry sky. This aura, could it be a powerhouse from the Phoenix people? The aura standing at the front is so strong. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Oh right, that's the 3rd elder of the Phoenix people. He has a high position and authority. Why did he come to the 8 heavens? Even the 3 elders have been mobilized. Could it be that something major has happened in the 8 heavens? Some of the creatures of the Great Desolate Heaven realm recognized the flaming light, and their eyes revealed looks of fear and reverence. The Phoenix people were deeply rooted in the Great Desolate Heaven realm. They were one of the top 10 races and were extremely powerful. The 3 clan elders were even more so the powerful experts of the older generation of the Phoenix people. They would not easily come out, but now that they had come to the 8 heavens, many of the creatures of the Great Desolate Heaven realm were puzzled. At the front of the flaming light was an old man wearing a fiery red robe. His eyes were like fire, and he held a flaming scepter in his hand. His body unconsciously exuded a powerful and dignified aura. This was the third elder of the Phoenix people. He was a true existence at the level of an old monster. The three clan elders' eyes narrowed as they revealed a look of pleasant surprise. He looked to the front, where a streak of fiery light was quickly flying over and finally stopping in front of the three clan elders. Kong Shi greets the three clan elders. Kong Shi, who was wearing a flaming armor, knelt on one knee on the ground and bowed respectfully to the three clan elders. The three clan elders nodded slightly, but their eyes fell on the slim and graceful woman behind Kong Shi. He could clearly feel that the woman's bloodline was extremely powerful. It was far more powerful than all the juniors of the Phoenix people he had seen before. He knew that the one who had resonated with the ancestral land of the Phoenix people should be this beautiful woman in front of him. "Little girl, what's your name?" The three clan elders' stern eyes gradually softened as he looked at the woman behind Kong Shi and asked gently. Kong Shi heard the three clan elders' voice become so gentle. He knew that the three clan elders were very satisfied with Mu Chenxue, who he had brought with him. One had to know that the three clan elders did not smile easily. However, they showed such a gentle smile to Mu Chenxue, who they had just met for the first time. It was obvious that the three clan elders valued Mu Chenxue greatly. At the same time, Kong Shi was also very happy. He knew that he had done a great service to the Phoenix people by finding Mu Chenxue. When he returned to the Phoenix people, he would definitely be rewarded generously. Mu Chenxue cupped her fists and said in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing, "Senior, my name is Mu Chenxue." The three clan elders nodded and said indifferently, "You have a powerful Phoenix bloodline, which should be related to fire. However, your name has the word, snow, in it. This name is not good. From now on, you will be called Mu Chenyen." Mu Chenxue frowned slightly and said calmly, "This name was given to me by my mother. I will not change my name easily. If Senior thinks that my name is not good, you can refuse to let me join the Phoenix people." Kong Shi's heart trembled when he heard this. Previously, he had repeatedly instructed that he was meeting the three clan elders. Among the Phoenix people, they were one of the three most powerful existences. He could not be careless. Now, Mu Chenxue actually contradicted the three clan elders in front of them for the sake of a name. Was she courting death? Even the dozen or so Phoenix tribe powerhouses behind the three clan elders began to discuss among themselves. They felt that this woman did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. The three clan elders narrowed their eyes and looked deeply at Mu Chenxue. In the end, they nodded and said, "All right. Since this is your decision, then you don't have to change your name." Kong Shi looked at the three clan elders in surprise. He did not expect the three clan elders to be so good-tempered now. They actually agreed to Mu Chenxue's request so easily. However, he also knew that this did not mean that the three clan elders' temper had improved. This was entirely because the Phoenix bloodline in Mu Chenxue's body was too powerful. The three clan elders had no choice but to treat her seriously. "Child, come here for a moment. Let me test your bloodline." The three clan elders waved their hands. Mu Chenxue hesitated for a moment, but still came to the three clan elders' side. The three clan elders stretched out their withered palms, then formed sword fingers and gently tapped the space between Mu Chenxue's eyebrows. Instantly, a phoenix symbol appeared between Mu Chenxue's eyebrows. Moreover, this phoenix symbol even let out a clear phoenix cry that pierced through gold and cracked stone, reaching the 9 heavens. Chapter 2696. 99 Phoenix Body. The blazing temperature actually dispersed the flaming light around the three clan elders and the others. Other than the three clan elders, the dozen or so people behind them all involuntarily retreated as they looked at the beautiful woman in front of the three clan elders in shock. At this moment, Mu Chenxue was surrounded by countless flames and magma. The terrifying magma actually formed phoenix phantoms one after another, and a total of 99 phoenix phantoms appeared above Mu Chenxue's head. The 99 phoenix phantoms let out overlapping phoenix cries. That sound actually resounded through the entire 8 heavenly realms, attracting the attention of countless living beings. It's actually the 99 phoenix body. It seems like the heavens are blessing us phoenix people. After countless years, a second person with the 99 phoenix body has actually appeared. The 3 clan elders laughed loudly, their voices filled with excitement. The dozen or so experts brought by the 3 clan elders all bowed and kowtowed as they looked at the 99 phoenix phantoms that had appeared behind Mu Chen Shui in the starry sky, their eyes filled with reverence. The 99 phoenix body was a legendary physique among the phoenix people. It was said that the ancestors of the phoenix people possessed the 99 phoenix body and were invincible throughout the world. In the end, they created one of the 10 great races, the phoenix people. Now that the 99 phoenix body had appeared among the phoenix people, they knew that the phoenix people would regain the glory of their ancestors in the future. They might even be able to compete with the witch clan that ruled the great desolate heaven realm. Right now, these phoenix people did not look down on Mu Chen Shui at all. Rather, they were filled with fanatical reverence. They were very clear that the woman in front of them was the future hope of the phoenix people. Chen Shui. From today onwards, you are the holy maiden of the phoenix people. Your status is only below the 3 clan elders, ha! The 3 clan elders laughed as they looked at Mu Chen Shui in front of them with great satisfaction. The 99 phoenix body. The 3 clan elders couldn't help but be excited. As long as Mu Chen Shui grew up, it would only be a matter of time before she surpassed the 3 clan elders of their clan. Then, it would be even easier for her to reach the 3rd step of the Tao confirming realm. Although Mu Chen Shui was puzzled, she knew that her body constitution was special and important to the phoenix people. However, this was exactly what she wanted. She joined the phoenix people in order to become stronger. Now that she had such a strong physique, it was naturally the best for her. Chen Shui, let's go back to the phoenix people, the 3 clan elders said while laughing. Mu Chen Shui nodded. Then, the 3 elders waved their sleeves, and a stream of flame wrapped around Mu Chen Shui. Then they brought the group of people and left the place in an instant. Mu Chen Shui looked at the dozen or so people in the flaming light, but she didn't see Kong Shi. She asked in surprise, "Elder, where is Kong Shi?" The 3 clan elders said with a smile, "Kong Shi. He came to the 8 heavens on a mission. He hasn't finished his mission yet, so he's staying in the 8 heavens for now." Mu Chen Shui nodded. She didn't think too much about it, but she didn't see the sinister look in the 3 clan elders' eyes. Just now, after he guided the 99 phoenix body out of Mu Chen Shui's body, he discovered that Mu Chen Shui was no longer a virgin. This made the 3 clan elders very angry. Mu Chen Shui was now the phoenix people's sacred maiden. She should have been as pure as ice, but someone had taken her virginity. The 3 clan elders couldn't accept this. However, the 3 clan elders didn't say anything to Mu Chen Shui, nor did they get angry at Mu Chen Shui. He knew that Mu Chen Shui wasn't born in the phoenix people. To be honest, the phoenix people were the ones who had let Mu Chen Shui down. This matter couldn't be blamed on Mu Chen Shui. Therefore, he immediately transmitted his voice to Kong Shi. He wanted to ask if Kong Shi knew if Mu Chen Shui had a Tao companion. If she did, the 3 clan elders felt that Mu Chen Shui's Tao companion deserved to die. After all, Mu Chen Shui was the phoenix people's sacred maiden. If others found out that the dignified phoenix people's sacred maiden had a Tao companion, it would be a humiliation to the phoenix people. Especially when the 3 clan elders heard that Mu Chen Shui's Tao companion was a piece of trash in the life and death boundary. This made the 3 clan elders even more disinterested in Mu Chen Shui's Tao companion. So, he casually ordered Kong Shi to kill Zhuowen before returning to the phoenix people. Kong Shi watched as the flames disappeared into the distance. He licked his lips with his scarlet tongue and said with a cold laugh, "That little bastard Jun, what ability did he have to dare become Lady Chen Shui's Tao companion? This kind of person should go to hell." Furthermore, the blood-stained horn on this bastard's body is also an incredible treasure. If I can obtain that treasure, I'm afraid that my strength will rise to another level. My status may even be on par with the 3 great clan elders. Kong Shi laughed as he flew into the starry sky. In fact, even if the 3 clan elders hadn't noticed that Mu Chenxue wasn't a virgin, Kong Shi would have told them about Zhuowen's existence. Of course, Kong Shi did not specifically mention that Zhuowen possessed a peerless ominous object and that Zhuowen relied on this peerless ominous object to kill an eternal rank god array master, because he had taken a fancy to that peerless monster. Once the 3 clan elders knew about it, Kong Shi knew that it would be impossible for him to take that treasure for himself. Of course, Kong Shi also knew how terrifying that peerless monster was. If Zhuowen had shot that arrow, he would have died without a doubt. However, in the battle with Master Yuan Hui, he had seen through the limitations of Zhuowen's use of that peerless monster. Because this kid needed some time to accumulate power. Without that time, this kid wouldn't have been able to shoot that arrow. As long as he acted decisively and killed that little bastard without giving him a chance to shoot that arrow, he knew that he would definitely be able to kill that little bastard. Zhuowen stopped in front of a huge natural moat. Looking at this huge and dangerous place that was completely different from the surrounding starry sky, his heart was filled with shock. Is this the natural moat? Zhuowen looked at the natural moat in front of him in shock and couldn't help muttering to himself. Fire Plume, Steel Plume, and Tong Chimei walked down from the space-time roulette. Fire Plume said softly, "Yes, this is the natural moat. Not only is there a natural and terrifying gravity here, but there are also many terrifying strange beasts. Because these strange beasts live in the harsh environment of the natural moat, their strength is monstrous. With the help of the natural moat's terrain, they are like fish in water. For cultivators crossing the natural moat, these strange beasts are the most troublesome obstacles." Zhuowen nodded. Just from the periphery of the natural moat, Zhuowen could feel that this natural moat was unusual and terrifying. "Brother Zhuo, are you really not going to come with us to Xianmi Heavenly Domain now?" Fire Plume tried to persuade him. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "I have made up my mind. I do have some things that I need to do, so I don't plan to go to Xianmi Heavenly Domain now. Once I'm done, I will go to Xianmi Heavenly Domain and pay a visit to Purple Red Chamber. As for Junior Sister Chimei, I'll leave it to you." Fire Plume said solemnly, "Don't worry, our Purple Red Chamber will not mistreat Junior Sister Chimei. Also, this is the route map of Purple Red Chamber. If you really come to Xianmi Heavenly Domain, you can follow this route to Purple Red Chamber. We will definitely treat you well." "Thank you." Zhuowen put away the route map and cupped his fists. His voice was filled with gratitude. Chapter 2697. Murderous Intent. The world in the Devourer King's body is beginning to take shape. Although it's a little far from the macro world, it still contains certain rules. I'll move the Ryuka people into my internal world first. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He then controlled the space-time roulette and moved all the Ryuka people in the various spacetimes into his internal world. After doing all this, Zhuowen took out the 3 space-time keys. I can't sense the location of the space-time temple in the extraterritorial starry sky. It seems that I'll have to make a trip back to the 8 heavens. Zhuowen was about to combine the 3 space-time keys and teleport into the space-time temple when he realized that it didn't work in the extraterritorial starry sky. He knew that it was because he was in the extraterritorial starry sky. When Zhuowen arrived at the Brahma domain in the space-time roulette and was about to take out the 3 space-time keys again, he felt a strong sense of danger. Then, Zhuowen threw a punch behind him without hesitation. The power of the 3 stars Pangu's sacred body poured out in torrents. Zhuowen could only feel a terrifying heat radiating from his fist. Soon after, he was sent flying by the terrifying force behind him. His right hand was fractured by the terrifying force. The instant Zhuowen was sent flying, Zhuowen immediately sensed the power pursuing him. It caught up to him once again. Clearly, it planned to completely destroy him in one go. Zhuowen's heart sank. He felt that the power was very familiar. Profound Creation Mysterious Light. Zhuowen used the Profound Creation Mysterious Light without hesitation. The Profound Creation Mysterious Light was different from the Sky-Splitting Blade and the Hong Meng Wuji. It focused on defense and had a terrifying defensive power. The creation mysterious light wrapped around Zhuowen's body and turned into a strong defense. Then, the force arrived as expected and blasted on Zhuowen's body. The terrifying force caused Zhuowen to groan. Fortunately, he managed to block the second wave of attack. Zhuowen reacted very quickly. After dodging the second wave of attacks, he immediately retreated like a flying shuttle, fleeing far away as he looked at the muscular man in the flame armor. Kongsher? Zhuowen's heart sank. The moment this person attacked him, he had already guessed that it was Kongsher. He couldn't understand why Kongsher would attack him. He could tell that Kongsher's attack was definitely a killing move. If Zhuowen had not used the mysterious light of creation in time, he would have been blasted into pieces even though his Pangu's sacred body was very strong. After all, Kongsher was an eternal overlord. He was so strong that Zhuowen was no match for him. It could be said that apart from the Hou-Yi divine arrow, Zhuowen had nothing that could threaten an eternal overlord like Kongsher. Kongsher looked at Zhuowen with some surprise. He didn't expect that the latter would only be injured under his sneak attack and not die. It seemed that this person was really not simple. This made Kongsher want to kill Zhuowen even more. Why? Zhuowen asked coldly. He didn't seem to have a life-and-death feud with Kongsher. Kongsher had no reason to kill him. Kongsher grinned and said, "Because you are Lord Qinshue's cultivation companion. The three elders have officially appointed Lord Qinshui as the saintess of the Phoenix people. Her status is high and the saintess is not allowed to have a cultivation companion. Therefore you must die." "You mean to say that the three elders gave the order to kill me?" Zhuowen's eyes were cold. Zhuowen had never seen the three elders, but this old man actually gave the order to kill him. This made Zhuowen burn with anger. "You can say that. Of course, part of it is because of me. You should hand over that blood-stained horn. As long as you are satisfied, why can't I spare your dog life?" Kongsher said arrogantly. Zhuowen sneered and said, "So that's your main reason for killing me. Looking at your expression, you didn't tell the three elders about this thing on me." Zhuowen quickly figured out the connection. It was the three elders who gave the order to kill him, but it should also be Kongsher's instigation. Moreover, Kongsher definitely didn't tell anyone about the Hou-Yi divine arrow. Otherwise, the three elders wouldn't have just sent Kongsher to kill him. They would have come in person. After all, his cultivation wasn't high, but he could kill an eternal overlord with the Hou-Yi divine arrow. Anyone who wasn't a fool could see that the Hou-Yi divine arrow was extraordinary. Thinking of this, Zhuowen also knew that it was a wrong decision to reveal the Hou-Yi divine arrow in front of Kongsher. The power of the Hou-Yi divine arrow was too terrifying, and his strength wasn't particularly strong. It was inevitable that Kongsher would covet it. If he used the Hou-Yi divine arrow again in the future, he would have to be careful. Otherwise, if he encountered something like today, it would be really bad. Sure enough, after hearing Zhuowen's words, Kongsher's eyes turned cold and said, "You're about to die, yet you still have the heart to ridicule me. You're simply courting death." "Boom," Kongsher said, taking a step forward and stretching out his right hand. Intense flame energy manifested into an extremely terrifying flaming palm that tore through the starry sky like an angry dragon, rushing towards Zhuowen. Kongsher followed closely behind, his hands blazing with flames, ready to strike. Obviously, he was going all out this time, intending to kill. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. Chapter 2698. The space-time temple. Zhuowen felt the world spin as if the space-time around him was constantly twisting, causing his entire body to feel pain and tension. After he gradually adapted to the feeling of space-time flying, he immediately mobilized the space-time law he had comprehended. Only then was he barely able to resist the tearing force of space-time around him. Zhuowen looked around and discovered that the surroundings were gray and hazy. Within this gray haze, there were even thin lines of light. They were like flying space-time that rapidly streaked past Zhuowen's eyes. This is the space where the space-time temple is located? Zhuowen stopped in place and observed his surroundings. He knew that this should be the space-time temple's space, but he didn't see it. Zhuowen's entire body was suffused with the space-time law. Then, he transformed into a stream of light that shot forward. At the same time, his powerful divine sense spread out and began to investigate his surroundings. It had to be said that Zhuowen's divine sense was indeed much more powerful than an ordinary cultivator's. In the space-time temple space, the space-time law was extremely vast, and the suppression on the divine sense was even more terrifying. If it was an ordinary cultivator, their divine sense would probably only be able to extend a few meters or even a few dozen meters. However, Zhuowen's divine sense could extend over 1,000 meters. With such a powerful divine sense, Zhuon could completely avoid the dangers and traps ahead of him. Someone has trespassed into the space-time domain. Kill him. Suddenly, after flying for several hours, Zhuon discovered a group of beast soldiers a few thousand meters ahead of him. There were about 50 of them. All of them were covered in scales and had huge hammer-like tails. The moment Zhuon discovered this group of beast soldiers, the leader of this group of beast soldiers also discovered Zhuon. Thus, it whistled toward Zhuon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in an attempt to kill Zhuon. Zhuon revealed a strange expression as he gazed at this group of soldiers, because he noticed that all of them were actually experts at the extremes of life and death, and the leader of the soldiers was even a half-step Heaven Dao Lord. If such a team was placed in the 8 heavens, it would be an invincible existence. It was more than enough to attack any one of the 8 heavens. The beast soldiers were very fast, and all of them seemed to have comprehended the space-time law. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Zhuon. Despicable humans, entering the space-time domain is simply courting death. The leader of the soldiers let out a ferocious laugh, his sharp teeth reflecting a chilling cold light. Holding the long spear in his hand, he mercilessly stabbed toward Zhuowen's vital points. Zhuon laughed coldly in his heart. This leader was merely a quasi-Heaven Dao Lord, yet he was simply courting death by acting so arrogantly before Zhuon. Zhuon clenched his right fist and casually punched out, smashing the tip of the leader's long spear. The leader of the soldiers was shocked to discover that the tip of the spear had been directly smashed apart. A terrifying force spread out from the tip of the spear, and then the entire spear curled up. Poochie! The moment the fist smashed the long spear, it also landed on the beast soldier leader's chest under its horrified gaze. A terrifying force exploded. The beast soldier leader let out a blood-curdling scream as it was blown to smithereens. It couldn't be any more dead than this. Leader! Many of the soldiers were shocked when they saw their leader being killed with a single punch, and they couldn't help but cry out in alarm. But soon they were enraged. How could they tolerate the death of their leader in front of their eyes? They disregarded their own lives and surrounded Zhuon, wanting to kill this human. Unfortunately, this human was too abnormal. He only casually punched out, and every punch was able to completely kill a soldier. Not long after, the entire beast army was slaughtered by Zhuon. Every single one of them was killed. Of course, Zhuon left one alive. This was also a soldier, but this soldier was scared out of his wits. When Zhuon was constantly killing the soldiers, this soldier hid in fear and wanted to escape. However, he was caught by Zhuon. Do you know where the temporal temple is? Zhuon asked indifferently as he held the soldier who was scared out of his wits. The soldier was trembling, and he had already thrown away the long spear in his hand. He looked at the human in front of him in horror, and he was so scared that he couldn't speak. I'm asking you a question. Do you want to die? Zhuon said with a frown. No. I'm telling you, the temporal temple is located in the deepest part of the temporal domain. It's the most mysterious place in the temporal domain, and it's the cave of Lord Yingxi. The soldier was so scared that he didn't dare to hide anything and told him everything about the temporal temple. After hearing this, Zhuowen's expression became serious. From this soldier, he learned that there were many soldier squads in the temporal domain. They were all servants that Yingxi had subdued in the early years, and each of them was very strong. In particular, there were 3 soldier squads that were the most terrifying. The weakest of the soldiers was a heavenly Dao master, and the leader was a primordial chaos master. Each of these 3 soldier squads could easily kill a primordial chaos master and restrain a heaven's mandate master. It was said that these 3 soldier squads were guarding the outermost area of the temporal temple, and they resisted any outsiders who wanted to enter. Ying-si was naturally the master of the temporal temple. Zhuan estimated that Ying-si's strength should be around the 2nd step of the Tao-confirming realm, but he didn't know what realm he was at. However, he was sure of one thing, and that was that the master of the temporal temple was definitely seriously injured and had less than 10% of his strength left. Even if Ying-si was a 2nd step Tao-confirming realm expert, his strength was not as strong as before. Zhuan might not be afraid of such an existence. The soldier also mentioned that because Ying-si's life was unknown, it seemed that the soldier squads here had begun to covet the things in the temporal temple. If someone entered here with 3 temporal keys, they would definitely be fought over. This was also the reason why these soldier squads were so excited when they saw Zhuan. Zhuan let the soldier go and continued to move forward. Although he was careful, he still encountered many soldier squads along the way. However, Zhuan was too strong, and the soldier squads he encountered along the way were easily defeated and killed by Zhuan. Gradually, because Zhuan's movements were too loud, he completely attracted the attention of many soldier squads in the temporal domain. Therefore, soldier squads gathered one after another, determined to kill Zhuan. Unfortunately, Zhuan was too brave. With the Pangu's sacred body, he was not afraid of a group battle at all. No matter how many soldier squads came, Zhuan basically killed them all. Many soldier squads were frightened and terrified. For a time, the soldiers in the temporal domain were in a panic. After seeing Zhuan's terrifying strength, many soldier squads did not dare to come forward to kill Zhuan. In the depths of the temporal domain, a magnificent palace stood, surrounded by powerful temporal law. Chapter 2699. The 3 major beast soldiers at the front of the palace stood 3 stone statues of beast soldiers. Each stone statue was extremely majestic and lifelike. In front of each of the 3 beast soldiers stood a leader. The leader on the right held the green dragon crescent blade and wore a green robe. Although he had a human body, he stood with a green dragon head. The leader in the middle was a charming woman wearing a loose cheongsam. Although her expression looked a little stiff, she still had a soul-stirring charm. The strange thing was that this woman had 9 furry tails behind her. She should be a 9-tailed fox. The leader on the left was a giant toad. However, this toad stood up and held a sharp sword that was about to be unsheathed. This appearance looked quite strange. Suddenly, the stone statues of the 3 leaders made a cracking sound. Then, the stones on the surface of the 3 leaders, which were supposed to be stone statues, peeled off one by one, revealing their real bodies. It seems that someone has collected all 3 space-time keys. The dragon-headed person holding the green dragon crescent blade said lightly, "Hee hee, you really made us wait for a long time. It wasn't easy for us to enter the space-time domain. After searching for countless years, we finally found the space-time temple. Unfortunately, without the space-time key, we couldn't enter. Today, someone finally gathered the space-time key and sent it to us." The 9-tailed fox pursed her lips and smiled. The 9 furry tails behind her swayed gently with a soul-stirring beauty. "Croak, we have an agreement. After obtaining the space-time key, the 3 of us will enter the space-time temple together. If anyone dares to break the agreement, they will be struck by lightning," the toad said coldly. Among the 3 of them, Toad was the least scheming. He also knew that 9-tailed fox and the dragon-headed man were both very meticulous. If he were to compete with them in terms of scheming, he would simply be looking for trouble. Therefore, he had already made things clear before this. "Don't worry, Toad. Since we have made an agreement, we will naturally fulfill it," the 9-tailed fox said with a charming smile. The toad snorted and immediately stomped his foot. Suddenly, the 50 stone statues behind him cracked and 50 beast soldiers appeared. These 50 beast soldiers all knelt on one knee to show their respect and submission to the toad. "That human is very fast. He's already here." The 9-tailed fox giggled. With a light tap of her jade-like hand, the 50 beast soldiers behind her also broke out of their shells. The dragon-headed person was not careless. Naturally, he also awakened the beast soldiers that belonged to him. When the three beast soldiers were completely awakened, a streak of light shot over and stopped not far from the temporal temple. Zhuowen raised his head and looked at the faintly discernible temple in the mist. A look of joy appeared in his eyes. He knew that the temple in front of him should be the space-time temple that he had been searching for. But soon his attention was attracted by the three beast soldiers in front of the temple. In particular, the three leaders in front of the three beast soldiers all had vast auras. They were all peak Hunyuan Lord, and their strength couldn't be underestimated. "Are you the guardians of the temporal temple?" Zhuowen asked indifferently. The nine-tailed fox blinked her right eye and giggled. "Cute little brother, you may have misunderstood. We are not the guardians of the temple. We want to enter the temple. If little brother is willing to hand over the space-time temple, we will be very grateful and won't make things difficult for you." The dragon-headed person and the toad both remained calm and looked at Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen's aura was only at the extreme realm of life and death, they knew about the commotion he had caused in front of them and knew that he was not weak. However, the three of them were not afraid of him. After all, they were all peak Hunyuan Lord and could be considered as real experts. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, how could he be stronger than the three of them? Therefore, they wanted Zhuowen to take the initiative to hand over the three temporal keys. Zhuowen sneered and ignored the nine-tailed fox's words. Instead, he said indifferently, "If you don't want to die, you'd better get out of the way. Otherwise, I won't be merciful." The nine-tailed fox was stunned. She looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. She had thought of many possibilities, but most of them were scenes of him begging for mercy or negotiating. She didn't expect him to be indifferent and even speak rudely as if he wasn't afraid of them. The dragon-headed person and the toad also looked gloomy. They felt that the human in front of them was too arrogant. "We've been tolerant enough, but you didn't take advantage of this opportunity. Since you insist on courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." The dragon-headed person's temper was obviously more irritable. He roared and took a step forward, sweeping in front of Zhuowen as if he had teleported. Immediately, the green dragon crescent blade in his hand turned into a terrifying blade light and slashed down, wanting to cut Zhuowen in two. With a wave of his sleeve, Tun summoned the death sacrifice sword and blocked in front of him. With a crisp clang, the death sacrifice sword collided with the green dragon crescent blade. The terrifying shockwave spread out, forming a ring of gas that spread out. It looked extremely terrifying. Zhuowen took a few steps back and looked at the green dragon crescent blade in the dragon-headed person's hand. He knew that the green dragon crescent blade of the dragon-headed person was much more advanced than the death sacrifice sword. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to suppress the death sacrifice sword at first contact. The dragon-headed person roared and rushed forward. The moment Zhuowen took a step back, the green dragon crescent blade in his hand turned into a sharp blade light, pouring down like rain in front of Zhuowen. Zhuowen held the death sacrifice sword in his left hand and clenched his right hand into a fist. The power of the three stars Pangu's sacred body suddenly erupted and slammed forward. Is this guy crazy? How can he block the blade with his bare hands? The nine-tailed fox and the toad looked at Zhuowen's action with strange expressions. The dragon-headed person's green dragon crescent blade was an origin-level divine artifact. Even the two of them didn't dare to block it with their bare hands. However, this human, who was obviously at a disadvantage, did so. Wasn't he looking for death? Bang! But soon, they were shocked to find that the human's fist hit the green dragon crescent blade and deflected it. Then, the death sacrifice sword in the human's left hand accurately pierced the dragon-headed person's chest. The dragon-headed person screamed and immediately gave up on the green dragon crescent blade. He used an escape technique and immediately left Zhuowen's place, landing where the nine-tailed fox and the toad were. How can this guy's physical body be so terrifying? The dragon-headed person kept coughing up blood. The terrifying death aura of the death sacrifice sword poured into his body, constantly devouring his vitality. It was extremely difficult to deal with. Fortunately, the death sacrifice sword's level was not high. Although his vital parts were injured by the death sacrifice sword, it was not fatal. The nine-tailed fox and the toad were also shocked. The way they looked at Zhuowen became more dignified. It seemed that they had underestimated the human in front of them. Zhuan looked at the dragon-headed person who was still alive in surprise and immediately put away the death sacrifice sword. He knew that the reason he couldn't kill the dragon-headed person with one blow was that the death sacrifice sword's level was too low. After all, the death sacrifice sword was only a heavenly path divine artifact, while the dragon-headed person was at the peak of origin master. The difference between the two was not small. Chapter 2700. Entering the Space-Time Temple. You too, are you still planning to watch the show? This person is not simple. Let's kill him together. The dragon-headed person said to the toad and the nine-tailed fox. At the same time, he roared and the beast soldiers behind him rushed out in an orderly manner toward Jun. The nine-tailed fox and the toad also knew that the current situation was critical. They summoned the beast soldiers behind them to join the dragon-headed person's beast soldiers and encircled Jun. The nine-tailed fox and the toad were naturally not watching the show. Instead, they followed behind the beast soldiers and looked for the best opportunity to attack. The dragon-headed person sat cross-legged on the spot and coughed up blood continuously. He was stabbed in his vital parts. Although he did not die, he was seriously injured. He knew that he would be courting death if he joined the battle. Therefore, he planned to recover from his injuries first and let the nine-tailed fox and the toad delay the human. However, what happened next shocked the dragon-headed man. He discovered that Zhuowen seemed to be overturning the seas when the three combined beast soldiers attacked him. It was as if Zhuowen had entered an unstoppable state. Then, the dragon-headed person was shocked to find that the human was surrounded by the three beast soldiers. Every time he attacked, he would definitely take away the life of a beast soldier. One must know that the strength of each of the three beast soldiers was at least the heavenly Tao master. However, they were all killed so cleanly by this person. Bang bang bang. Zhuowen threw out punch after punch. Every punch formed a fist mark that was branded in the void. The speed of his punches was too fast. In just an instant he blasted out 150 fist marks. These fist marks overlapped in the starry sky as if they were thrown out at the same time. The aura was vast and earth-shattering. The three beast soldiers were also blasted away by the fist marks at this moment. In the process of flying back, every beast soldier's body collapsed and was annihilated. In just an instant, only the toad and the nine-tailed fox were left on the battlefield. They stood still not far away and looked dumbfoundedly at the figure that was like a god or a demon lying across the void. The toad and the nine-tailed fox had been following behind. They did not even reach the scene when the battle between the beast soldiers was over. In the span of a single breath, that human had completely annihilated the three beast armies they commanded. They were unable to imagine what sort of strength was required to reach such a terrifying level. This person must be an expert at the second step of Tao validation. We can't fight against him. Retreat. After listening to the dragon-headed man's introduction, Yun also had a preliminary understanding of the space-time temple. It turned out that the owner of the space-time temple was a space-time beast. It was said that the space-time beast had a trace of the candle dragon's bloodline. It was also one of the top 10 races in the primitive heaven domain. However, the space-time beast race was different from the sorcerer race. They had very few members, much fewer than the devouring race. They rarely appeared in the world. However, once the space-time beast race appeared, it would definitely alarm the primitive heaven domain. This was because any expert from the space-time beast race was definitely a top expert. The space-time temple was obviously left behind by one of the space-time beasts. Of course, the dragon-headed man did not know what was in the space-time temple. However, he knew that the space-time beast race's cave was definitely extremely rich. This was because the space-time beast race was born with the ability to control space-time. They could distort space-time and avoid all kinds of dangers. They were especially suitable for treasure hunting. The space-time beast race's character was also the kind of race that liked treasure hunting. They liked to travel around the starry sky and hide the treasures they collected in their cave as a collection. It could be said that being able to find a space-time beast race's cave was a huge treasure for anyone. Zhuan nodded and let the dragon-headed man go. He landed in front of the Space-Time Temple's main hall and took out the 3 space-time keys. There were indeed 3 keyholes at the main entrance of the temple, which should correspond to the 3 space-time temple keys. After Zhuan inserted the 3 space-time keys into the keyholes, the huge temple door set off a terrifying space-time storm. Zhuan operated the space-time rules and barely avoided being swept away by the space-time storm. He watched the huge temple door slowly open in front of him. Just as Zhuan wanted to see what was inside the temple door, a terrifying space-time suction force appeared. Zhuan was not careful and was sucked in. Chapter 2701. Puzzlement. Zhuan opened his eyes and examined everything in the hall. He discovered that the space-time energy in the hall was even more terrifying. In front of Zhuan's eyes, it was clearly just a hall, but Zhuan felt like it was infinitely large. He could not see the edges of the hall. Zhuan carefully walked forward. Since the outside world was filled with danger, the inside of the temporal temple would definitely be even more dangerous. However, to Zhuan's surprise, he did not encounter any other dangers along the way. Aside from the powerful space-time energy that made him uncomfortable, he did not encounter any other dangers. Speaking of which, the hall was very spacious. There were hundreds of huge stone pillars in the hall, and at the very front was an altar. Apart from that, there was nothing else in the temporal temple. Zhuan did not even see any secret doors or rooms. Zhuan looked at the spacious hall in surprise. In his impression, the temporal temple should have many resources, at least piled up like a mountain. Moreover, the dragon-headed person had said that the temporal temple was the dwelling of the space-time beasts, and the space-time beasts loved to collect treasures. Why was there nothing in the temporal temple? Zhuan's gaze fell on the altar at the very front. He saw that the altar was also empty. However, at the center of the altar, there was a dark blue ball of light floating about. This dark blue ball of light emitted a mysterious aura that attracted Zhuan. He could not help but want to approach it and investigate it. Zhuan hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he followed the carpet and walked towards the altar at the end. Zhuan became even more careful. He was deeply afraid that he would encounter some unknown danger while walking on the carpet. However, when Zhuan finally arrived in front of the altar, there was no danger like Zhuan had imagined. This made Zhuan sigh in relief. Just what is this thing? Zhuan looked at the blue ball of light floating in front of him. He discovered that the space-time power contained within the ball of light was extremely terrifying. It was like a lot of space-time power had been compressed together. Zhuan could not help but feel deep fear. It could be said that this blue light cluster was a ticking time bomb. It was the first time that Zhuan had encountered such a terrifying compressed space-time power. If this thing exploded, even if he had the 3-star Pangu sacred body, he would probably be blown to pieces. However, Zhuan discovered that the blue light was similar to the space-time heart. The space-time heart was the core energy of the space-time roulette. The space-time roulette relied on the space-time heart to travel through space-time at extreme speeds. Why don't we try using the space-time roulette? Zhuan muttered to himself. Unable to suppress the impulse in his heart, he took out the space-time roulette. Immediately afterward, after he took out the space-time roulette, the blue light cluster had some strange movements. Then, the blue light cluster approached the space-time roulette and directly entered the space-time roulette. Immediately, Zhuan discovered that the space-time roulette was wrapped in the blue light cluster. Zhuan's consciousness could clearly feel that the space-time power in the blue light cluster was continuously pouring into the space-time roulette. The space-time roulette's aura was constantly skyrocketing. Zhuan knew that the space-time roulette was transforming. Zhuan waited for 3 days. Finally, the blue light cluster was absorbed by the space-time roulette. Zhuan looked at the space-time roulette in front of him. He found that the space-time roulette's appearance had not changed at all, but its aura had undergone a tremendous change. Zhuan was sure that if he drove the space-time roulette again, the speed of the space-time roulette would definitely be dozens or even hundreds of times faster than before. There was no doubt about that. The moment Zhuan touched the space-time roulette, he discovered that an image of a large hall had appeared in his mind. The image analyzed every corner of the hall, and it was extremely complete. Moreover, he faintly felt that he seemed to have control over the space-time temple. Could it be that the blue light cluster just now was the central hub of the space-time temple? Because I refined the central hub, I gained control of the space-time temple? Jun was surprised, but more than that, he was puzzled. It seemed that he had not done anything, and the blue light cluster had run over and merged into the space-time roulette. Then, he inexplicably gained control of the space-time temple. Jun was somewhat baffled by this free lunch that had fallen from the sky. However, he was more vigilant. He never believed that there was a free lunch in the world. The fact that he had refined the central hub of the space-time temple too easily was an extremely strange thing. Although he felt that this matter was not simple, he still carefully examined the map of the large hall that had appeared in his mind. He discovered that there was a secret passage under the altar. Entering this secret passage seemed to lead to the storage cellar of the space-time temple. The master of the space-time temple should have hidden everything in this cellar. Then let's go in and take a look. Juan muttered to himself. He opened the secret passage, entered it with a whoosh, and disappeared inside. Before long, Juan arrived in front of the cellar. Following the instructions in his mind, he opened the door to the cellar. Then, a look of shock appeared on his face. This was because the cellar of the space-time temple was filled with all kinds of resources. The cellar was very large, about the size of 2 football fields. However, it was filled with resources. This shocked Juan. He saw a mountain of heavenly law origin crystals inside. Moreover, they were all special-grade heavenly law origin crystals. After all, these special-grade heavenly law origin crystals had all been purified. Although the mountain of special-grade heavenly law origin crystals might not be as large as the special-grade heavenly law origin crystal vein Juan had obtained from the origin grounds, their quality might surpass the special-grade heavenly law origin crystal vein that Juan had obtained. After all, although the vein Juan had obtained last time was enormous, if it was truly purified into crystals, it might not necessarily be as large as the pair of white special-grade heavenly law origin crystals in front of Juan. Apart from the special-grade heavenly law origin crystals, there were many precious divine medicines in the cellar, as well as various rare ores used for forging weapons. There were also various divine artifacts of the Tao. It could be said that the amount of resources in the cellar was definitely the most plentiful that Juan had seen so far. It was also the most varied. There are so many forging materials. Kid, leave these forging materials to me. With these precious forging materials, I think the blood immortal and I will be able to evolve again. Xiao Hei swept out with the Thunderfire sword. Her eyes shone as she stared at the piles of forging materials in the cellar. Juan nodded. He summoned the blood immortal and sacrificial death and said, Xiao Hei, refine the sacrificial death as well. Xiao Hei was an artifact cultivator. Her attainments in forging were extremely profound. As long as she had enough forging materials, Xiao Hei could basically constantly evolve. Chapter 2702. A surprising breakthrough. Xiao Hei nodded repeatedly. Then, with the blood immortal sword and the sacrificial death sword in hand, he pounced on the pile of refining materials with glowing eyes as he clicked his tongue in wonder. Juan, on the other hand, swept everything in the cellar into his small world like a whirlwind, leaving nothing behind. I might need to stay here for a while. I need to refine these refining materials for my own advancement, Xiao Hei suddenly said to Juan. Juan nodded in agreement. Now that he had obtained so many resources, he also planned to cultivate in seclusion. Since he had obtained so many special-grade heavenly law origin crystals, he naturally wanted to continue cultivating the Pangu's sacred body. He hoped to improve it further. Juan's doppelganger separated from his original body and sat cross-legged on one side. Using the power of devouring, it began to absorb the special-grade heavenly law origin crystals in the pocket world like a whale sucking in water. His original body sat cross-legged not far from his doppelganger, slowly absorbing the remnant energy emitted by his doppelganger while comprehending his own heavenly law. Juan could feel that his original body was not far away from completely comprehending the heavenly law. Moreover, with the assistance of the special-grade heavenly law origin crystals, his original body's cultivation would naturally be like a tiger that had grown wings. After half a month, his original body suddenly opened his eyes. At this moment, his aura began to skyrocket at an extremely fast speed, like a sharp arrow piercing through the clouds. Soon, his original body broke through and became a half-step heavenly law master. The doppelganger seemed to have sensed it. Looking at his original body's skyrocketing aura, he knew that his original body was about to break through. A breakthrough naturally required a huge supply of energy, and the special-grade heavenly law origin crystals were naturally the best choice. The doppelganger flicked his finger, and a devouring vortex appeared between his original body's eyebrows. Then, waves of energy from the heavenly law origin crystals surged out like a tide and rushed into the depths of his original body's eyebrows. After that, the aura of his main body skyrocketed once more, rising from the level of a half-step heavenly Tao master. Zhuan could clearly sense that the shackles on his body seemed to have cracked as his aura skyrocketed, and it seemed like they would shatter at any moment. Zhuan knew that this shackle was the last barrier he had to overcome to come into contact with the heavenly Tao. Moreover, Zhuan discovered that this shackle was extremely powerful and terrifying. He had tried to break through it dozens of times, but all of them ended in failure. Zhuowen's stubbornness flared up. He began to channel even more of his devouring power, desperately absorbing the energy of the special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystal. He wanted to break through this shackle in one go. If the cultivators of the Xianmi heavenly domain saw that Zhuan had not only used a special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystal to break through to heavenly Tao Lord, but also failed to break through after so many attempts, they would definitely curse him for being a wastrel. This was because there was a saying in the Xianmi heavenly domain that the stronger a cultivator's Tao root, the easier it would be for them to break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm. Supposedly, cultivators that possessed heaven-grade Tao roots would be able to break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm on their own even if they didn't rely on any heavenly Tao origin crystals. Only those cultivators with extremely weak Tao roots would have to rely on the energy of the outside world to break through their shackles. However, even the weakest Tao root would be sufficient to break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm by utilizing a certain amount of low-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals. On the other hand, Zhuan had relied on a special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystal to break through. Moreover, he tried to break through a few tens of times, so all the cultivators of the Xianmi heavenly domain knew that this person was probably a fellow that didn't possess a natural talent in Tao roots. Moreover, there would even be people that would curse him for wasting God's given gifts. He clearly didn't possess a Tao root, yet he'd actually acted so recklessly and utilized a large amount of special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals to break through by force. Was he courting death? Zhuan didn't know all of this, and he wasn't even sure if he possessed a Tao root. He'd thought that others would break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm in the same manner as him, and he'd even muttered about how difficult it was to break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm. However, he quickly realized that something was wrong. After all, he possessed so many special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals. How could an ordinary cultivator of the Xianmi heavenly domain possess so many special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals to break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm? It would already be very good if they possessed low-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals. Since they'd all successfully broken through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm, then why hadn't he broken through after absorbing so many special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals? However, the arrow was already knocked on the bow, and he had no choice but to release it. Zhuan had no choice but to continue absorbing special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals to break through to the heavenly Tao Lord realm with all his strength. His clone also stopped absorbing special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals and looked at his main body in shock. His main body was absorbing special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals at a speed that was countless times faster than his clone. His clone realized that something was wrong when he saw the small mountain of special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals in the small world continuously decreasing, and he couldn't help but stand up. After absorbing the special-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals for half a month, the third flame star between his clone's eyebrows had finally become much brighter. It was no longer as dim as it was at the beginning. Obviously, his clone's Pangu's sacred body had also made some progress in the past half a month and had broken through to the middle 3-star level. His clone had originally estimated that if he absorbed a portion of the special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals, his Pangu's sacred body should have no problem breaking through to the peak 3-star level. However, now that something had happened to his main body, his clone naturally couldn't continue absorbing special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals. Instead, he looked at his clone worriedly. His main body's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Although his heart ached when he saw the special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals continuously decreasing, his stubbornness also rose. His main body roared angrily, and his devouring power swept away all the special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals in the small world and poured them all into his body. He planned to stake everything on this one throw and give it his all. This time, he must break through to the Heavenly Tao Lord realm. Finally, the moment the last bit of energy poured into Zhuowen's body, Yuan seemed to hear the sound of the shackles in his body shattering. In the end, he discovered that the shackles were collapsing. Zhuowen let out a long roar, and the aura in his body rose to the extreme. At the same time, he felt that he had complete control over the Heavenly Tao rules around him. However, Yuan discovered that the meridians in his body didn't seem to have transformed into Tao meridians. The only change was that after the illusory sky bridge shattered, it entered his dantian and formed a black vortex. This black vortex was like a black hole in the starry sky, deep and endless. Zhuowen had already learned a little about the Heavenly Tao Lord from Fire Plume. He knew that the meridians in the body of a Tao validation cultivator would transform into Tao meridians the moment they broke through. The so-called Tao meridians were naturally meridians that had been transformed by Tao runes into more powerful meridians. They could use the power of the Heavenly Tao rules at will. Chapter 2703. Killing intent targeted at Kong Shizhuan could sense that after his main body became the Heavenly Tao Master, his strength was no weaker than an ordinary master of primordial chaos. It was a very strange feeling. Zhuowen realized that there was something wrong with his breakthrough because the situation after his breakthrough was very different from what Fire Plume had described. Although he was very puzzled and wanted to know what was going on, he knew that now was not the time to ask. After all, he did not have a cultivator from the Xianmi heavenly domain like Fire Plume by his side to explain it to him. Zhuowen guessed that the reason for this was very likely to have something to do with his Tao root. After he went to the Xianmi heavenly domain this time, he was indeed going to test his Tao root. He was also looking forward to the grade of his Tao root. Breaking through to the Heavenly Tao Master consumed so many special grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals. This, after discovering that 2/3 of the special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals in the small world had been consumed, Yuan was speechless and felt that it was unbelievable. After all, the Heavenly Tao Master was only the first minor realm of the first step of Tao validation. He actually needed so many special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals to break through. He could not imagine how terrifying the resources he would need if he continued to break through in the future. It could be said that his main body was even more terrifying than the clone's Pangu's sacred body. What Zhuowen didn't know was that the reason he needed so many special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals was mainly because he didn't have an ancestral Tao root, or perhaps his ancestral Tao root was extremely inferior. So, he needed even more energy to break through. Just think about it, who would have so many special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals when breaking through to the Heavenly Tao Master? Even if they had so many special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals, ordinary cultivators would give up after failing to break through a few times because they knew that it was simply a waste of effort. However, Yuan did not understand this. He broke through to the Heavenly Tao Master hundreds of times and consumed most of the special-grade Heavenly Tao origin crystals in the small mountain before he finally broke through. Of course, after breaking through, Yuan also discovered that his strength was much stronger than ordinary Heavenly Tao Masters. His strength was comparable to that of Master of Primordial Chaos, which was a great gain. Brat, the commotion caused by your breakthrough is too big. I was almost scared to death by you. Xiao He brought the blood immortal sword and the sacrificial death sword to Zhuowen. She looked at him with a strange look. Zhuan scratched his head and changed the topic. You've already refined those materials? However, Xiao Hei shook her head and said, it's not that simple. I've only started refining it. If I want to use these materials to evolve, it will take some time. Let's go into your small world first. I plan to go into seclusion for a while. With so many materials, I think I can try to break through to the second step of Dao confirmation. Zhuan did not doubt Xiao Hei's words. After putting Xiao Hei and the others into his small world, he headed towards the depths of the Divine Hall. In the depths, Zhuan knew that there was a teleportation array to leave the Temporal Temple. This time, entering the Temporal Temple could be said to be extremely smooth. However, Zhuan always felt strange in his heart. This was because his journey in the Temporal Temple was too smooth. He did not encounter any danger at all. This made him feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Zhuan laughed at himself. After entering the depths of the temple, he found the teleportation array and activated it without hesitation. When Zhuan opened his eyes again, he looked around and discovered that he had returned to the place he had been before. Then, Zhuan found that a murderous intent had locked onto him. This murderous aura was not unfamiliar to Zhuan. It belonged to Kong Shi. Zhuan cursed inwardly. He did not expect that the teleportation array would be so deceptive. It actually teleported him to his original place. Zhuan did not hesitate to take out the space-time roulette and instantly disappeared from where he was. Boom! Where Zhuan had been, the starry sky collapsed inch by inch. A figure surrounded by flames slowly appeared where Zhuan had just appeared. Trying to escape? Do you think you can escape? The corners of Kong Shi's mouth curled into a smug smile. He looked at Zhuan, who had escaped far away, and chased after him without hesitation. However, Kong Shi soon discovered that he was quickly left far behind by Zhuan in the process of chasing. When did this guy's flying divine tool become so fast? Kong Shi looked at Zhuan, who had turned into a black dot in shock, and could not help but mutter to himself in shock. He had investigated Zhuan's flying divine tool before. Although its speed was extraordinary due to the space-time laws, it was still inferior to his. But now, Zhuan's speed was much faster than before. In the blink of an eye, he had left him behind. Zhuan looked at Kong Shi, who had been left behind, and was a little shocked by the space-time roulette's current speed. It seemed that the blue ball of light in the Temporal Temple was of great help to the space-time roulette's evolution. This Kong Shi is still a scourge. It's better to kill him as soon as possible. After discovering the terrifying speed of the space-time roulette, Zhuan was no longer worried about his own safety. Instead, he had other thoughts.